The flowers on the street were immediately as if they were scalded. They quickly took back their hands and carried them behind them. Qinlin and Qinya's eyes, nose and heart were busy, and they retreated. Mo Shanghua looked at the empty room, hesitated and tangled for a long time, then said in a soft voice, "Take it off yourself, I'll help you see the wound." The princess is so moved. Yan Beiqing stood up and looked at the flowers on the street with a smile. "But you can rest assured, my body is better. I'm going to the first restaurant in the city to have a drink. I won't tell you more. You should be good yourself. Don't miss me too much." Before leaving, his fingertips are still quite frivolous in her delicate as porcelain on the beautiful cheek, just full of smile to go down. Mo Shanghua raised her hand to touch her cheek that she had just been touched, and then looked down at her delicate white hands. She could not help but scold, "Ding Tuzi." In the words, there is no half of blame or dissatisfaction. It has been several days since Qianlin reopened his shop, and the price of grain has been dropping again and again from the initial low price. But these days, even the poor family can only eat bran pharyngeal vegetables have not come to buy, although he is in addition to puzzling, but also more anxious and worried. The idea of cultivating grain to make huge profits was immediately shattered. Let's look at this situation. We have to spend all our money. That's Zheng's fault. The more he thought about it, the more angry Qianlin was, but Zhang had already run away. He couldn't find anyone who wanted to settle the accounts. "Master, there is a turning point. There is a turning point." A little boy's voice with a bit of joy suddenly rang up, but the person did not arrive. The voice has been passed into Qianlin's ears. Qianlin suddenly stood up from his chair and walked excitedly to the panting boy. "What did you say?" After breathing for a while, the boy said, "A mysterious man came to Puzhong today. He said that he could buy all our grain, but he said that he would negotiate with you personally. Look. Good, whatever he wants." Before he had finished his sentence, Yan Beiqing interrupted him in a hurry, and agreed. "Where is he now?" He was so excited that he even spoke fast, for fear that if he spoke slowly, he would run away. "I have been invited to your house, and now I am waiting in the hall. Why don't you tell me earlier and introduce me quickly?" "Forget it, I'll go myself." Qianlin scolded angrily, and left in a hurry without waiting for the boy to answer. When Qianlin arrived, he saw a long man with a big black cloak sitting on the seat beside him. I'm afraid he never thought that this man was Yan Beiqing, the famous dandy. When he came in, Yan Beiqing didn't even raise his eyebrows. He gently played with a piece of white suede finger between his slender fingers. The upper half of the finger didn't have any extra carving, but the whole finger was very transparent. At first glance, it was the top grade. Qianlin glanced at the finger, and his eyes were straight. He was the richest man here, but he had never seen such a fine white jade. He suddenly understood that he had met some big customers. He didn't even dare to sit in the first place. He hurried to Yan Beiqing and said with a smile, "The people in my house are not sensible. They just neglect me a lot. I hope you will forgive me." Yan Beiqing only showed a section of white and beautiful jaw, and gently nodded. His voice was very low, but it was also very flat, so that you couldn't hear half of the emotion. "The purpose of my coming, you must be very clear. This is the only number I can give. If you don't want to, then it's over." With that, he took out a silver note from his sleeve and put it directly on the desk beside him. Qianlin took a few steps. When he saw the amount of money on the banknote on the table, his face became dark and angry. Not long after Mo Shanghua left Yanbei City, he asked people to invite some small grain merchants in the city. These small grain merchants certainly can't compare with Qianlin in terms of strength, but they are so valuable. The more chance they can negotiate, and if they are persuaded, Qianlin will not be far away. "Qinya, take the dragon well that I brought from the palace before the rain and make it for you." The flower in the street glanced at the food merchant sitting at the bottom of the table, and spoke in a flat voice. Qinya gave a clear answer. In a short time, she took a few servant girls to offer them tea one by one. Mo Shanghua looks up at the grain merchants quietly by drinking tea. Sure enough, she sees that they are also looking at her quietly. Unfortunately, she looks down in a hurry and doesn't dare to look at her more. Mo Shanghua sees this, but deliberately pretends not to see the appearance, put down the teacup, so quietly sitting in the hall, half a word does not say. She didn't open her mouth, and everyone in the room didn't dare to open her mouth easily. The atmosphere in the room was suddenly depressed. The silence for a long time made many grain merchants feel uneasy. Some of them couldn't understand the meaning of the flower. One of them hesitated for a long time and said, "We didn't have any trouble with the princess in the past. What's the matter with the princess calling me here today?" The rest of the people smell speech. Eyes also have to sit on the flower body. Since Counselor Lu is so straightforward, there is no need to beat around the bush. Mo Shanghua raised his eyelids and said, "To tell you the truth, I called you today to find out that the grain you used to hoard together with Qianlin has not been sold now. I thought that if you were in the village for some time, you might not be able to make a high profit. It would be better to sell it all to me. For you and for me it's a strategy." There was a moment of silence in the room, and people's faces suddenly changed. However, most of them were still embarrassed and unwilling. No one wanted to be the outsider and speak. Even the former Counselor Lu was silent. Mo Shanghua put everyone's looks into his eyes one by one. He said again without a smile, "I think you are afraid now, and you are also watching. Then I might as well tell you that the grain in my granary can support at least 3 months now, and the cooperation with outside grain merchants is also very good. I don't want you to have no money in the future, it's just going home." After a pause, her slender and white fingertips gently touched the table and added, "Qianlin has reopened his shop to sell grain. As for the business, I think you know better than me, and you also have people like him. How to choose depends on you." This time, the house was not as quiet as it used to be. All the people began to discuss in a low voice. They were all frowning and worried. For a long time, Counselor Lu, who spoke earlier, stood up again with a look of embarrassment on his face. "Princess, we all know what you mean, but we don't dare to discuss this matter easily. We understand the princess's kindness." Mo Shanghua's hand tapping on the table stopped. His eyes were a bit calm, and his voice was not angry. "Besides Counselor Lu, there are others. I think you must understand that I am not discussing with you, but giving you a chance not to lose all your wealth. It is clear that she is now suffering from crisis, but she understated a few words, and then took the initiative in her own hands, turned passive to active. But everyone is in the drum, silent, carefully thinking about the pros and cons. The news of Zhang Wang's escape hasn't reached them yet. After all, they don't dare to draw a conclusion easily in their heart, but they politely refused to go to the flower. Mo Shanghua's eyes were cold, but Qianlin suddenly ran up and whispered a few words to Mo Shanghua's ear. The flower eye on the street flashed a little surprised, but still nodded, "Let him bring people up." After a while, Qianlin came in. He looked around and saw that everyone was here. He was a little surprised. Finally, his eyes fell on the flower in the street and bowed respectfully. In the memory of Mo Shanghua, Qianlin has always been arrogant. When did he treat her so respectfully? It seems that this matter is really a bit strange. But although the heart is strange, but the face is still that light look, gently raised his hand. "Up." Qianlin heard that Yin just got up. Before he could wait for the flowers to open his mouth, he opened his mouth first. "I've come here not only to deliver food, but also to apologize to the princess. In the past, it was Qian Zhiyu who had been blinded and believed Zhang Wan's words, so that I would fight against the prince and princess everywhere. Now I've been instructed and I've repented. I also asked the princess to forgive me past mistakes." He gathered his eyebrows and lowered his eyes. He looked very respectful and sincere. He had no previous arrogance. As the words fell, the house was like a frying pan. Not only were the flowers on the street, but even the grain merchants were shocked. Some even blurted out, "What's the matter, Mr. Qian?" Qianlin ignored him and continued to say, "Please forgive me." Mo Shanghua looks at Qianlin for a long time. The surprise in his heart has been reduced, and his eyes are a bit thoughtful. After pondering for a long time, the red lips spoke slowly, and the water eyes were as calm as a water mirror. They couldn't see half of their emotions. It's only a few days before and after that. How can you change so fast? Who knows if you've come to deliberately cheat surrender? You might as well go back as soon as possible, so that you won't stay with me in the future but still feel strange. She was deliberately trying to see whether Qianlin was sincere or fake, and what medicine was hidden in the gourd. Princess Mingjian. Qianlin immediately put his head on the ground. His voice was sincere. That piece of waste is a son of a bitch. Just want to use me. Now I have come to realize, just want to take refuge in the prince and princess, concentrate on doing things for the palace in the future. The flowers on the street are smiling, but the dark light in their eyes is clearly out, and they are erratic. Qianlin and the grain merchant's hearts are also up and down. She picked up the teacup on the table and took a sip of tea. Then she spoke without hesitation. Empty talk, it's always time to show some sincerity. Everyone's eyes immediately fell on Qianlin. My princess, you've got to get around me. Qianlin's face was wrinkled into bitter gourd, and he was about to cry. The people you sent only used 6,000 liang to buy all my grain, but I didn't dare to give up half of the price. Now it's only the old capital. Isn't this sincerity enough? What he said was half false, and the guilty feeling at the bottom of his eyes was obvious. Mo Shanghua was more surprised, more curious who did it, and didn't reveal half of it. How strange in the heart. Her beautiful cheek is still calm like a water mirror, but her voice is cold. If you are so sincere, it's better to take back your grain. Don't say that, princess. Qianlin's face suddenly changed. He quickly knelt down, bit his teeth, and opened his mouth like, I also take out half of my field to honor you. Now Mo Shanghua is his only life-saving straw. If she does not care about him, his hard-working family business will be completely destroyed in his hands. How could he give up all this? Qianlin's move is just like a big pot she sent when she was in a stew pot, which can solve her urgent need. In the heart has come to a conclusion, but the flower is still deliberately drooping eyes, pretending to think. After a while, she raised her head. Her eyes swept over the food merchants who were sitting separately. Suddenly, she changed the topic. By the way, Zhang is still in your house now? Qianlin thought that the story of Mo Shanghua was about to be mentioned again. He was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat on his forehead. He quickly rejected. He disappeared a few days ago. Maybe he offended someone, and was found by his enemies. Although the reason is far-fetched, it still plays a role. The faces of those grain merchants can't help changing, and their minds turn again. In that case, let's get up in charge of money. In the future, we will still be in charge of King Yu's house. You can still decide the matter of grain in Wujuan. After a pause, her voice suddenly turned, and she looked at the other grain merchants with no smile. You've been thinking about it for a long time, but now you think about it? After a long silence, Counselor Lu took the lead, and stood up one after another. In the end, they agreed to what Mo Shanghua had said, and expressed their willingness to listen to her at any time. With these people's assurance, Mo Shanghua was relieved. Qianlin and other grain merchants moved fast enough, and the promised rice was soon delivered to him. Now his urgent need was temporarily solved. Just spend in the room for a long time, always want to do not understand, who helped him so much. After thinking about it, the only figure looming in her heart was the cloak man, that is Yan Beicheng. Thinking of this, she seems to be eager to verify, quickly called Qinya in. Qinya, do you know where the Lord went today? Qinya had a strange look at the flower on the street. She seemed to be hesitant. After a while, she said in a low voice, Lord, I've been staying in the flower street all day today, with the flower boy. She such tone, but Mo Shanghua so hasty appearance, afraid she misunderstood more think, let two people born gap just. The flower on the street frowned slightly. She always felt that it might be him. She was about to ask Qinya to take her to Yanbei City, but Qinya was afraid that she would be angry, so she quickly cut off the topic. Princess, a few days ago, didn't you ask me to go outside the city to see how the people farm? I've seen it with my brother, and I know it. Mo Shanghua couldn't figure it out. Now seeing that Qinya was talking about it, she stood up and said, Tell me, how do they farm? It's about her plan to improve the soil quality and plant high-yield food. She has to work hard and pay close attention to no matter how small things are. In fact, it's nothing special, just like everyone else, plowing, sowing, watering and daily care. Qinya tilted her head and thought a little, then said what she knew. These simple truth, emo shanghua heart natural clear, way. Then they can see they use chicken manure cow dung cover in the field? These are the most basic natural fertilizers with low cost. If they are useful, it may also help her plan. Chicken manure, cow manure, these are filthy things. How can we use them? Qinya's delicate brows were tightly wrinkled together, and her face was full of strange colors. My family used to be a farmer, and no one would use it. Qinya's home is outside Yuzhou. The environment is good, but it doesn't need this. It seems that this way has not been popularized. In the flower eyes on the street, there is a little bright color. If it is like this, she can grasp it and make great use of it. You can quickly send money to him, let him take me to his field to have a look, and let him bring more hands, prepare farming tools, and some chicken manure and cow manure. The color of flower eyes on the street restored to be calm and orderly. Qinya was at a loss. She wanted to ask, but Emo Shanghua seemed to see through his thoughts. She said with a faint smile, "You'll know then. Go quickly." Qinya is full of doubts. In order to solve them earlier, she answers quickly and goes down. Emo Shanghua, with Qianlin and others, went directly to a piece of land under Qianlin's name that had not been cultivated with new rice, pointed to a small area and said in a light voice, "Renovate it all here." After Qianlin's reply, he straightened his back and looked at the boys. "What are you doing in a hurry?" "Yes." The boys answered in unison, and then they started to renovate a small piece of land in front of them with hoes and shovels. Seeing this, Emo Shanghua simply turned her eyes to other places in the ground and walked along the soft soil. Her head hung down and carefully observed the rice roots in the ground. Because of a long time, the root has already withered and turned yellow, and there is no difference. On the contrary, the sweet potato planted in a nearby field has sprouted. Standing here, it looks very good. Emo Shanghua moved her skirt upward and walked to the middle of the two places. She carefully noticed that she didn't cross the boundary before squatting down to observe the growth of these sweet potatoes. After all, the soil here is not very good, so the sweet potato here is also like rice, which is far from as good as the growth in the imperial city. Even the growth rate is much slower than that in the outside world. If you look closely, you can see that there are many small holes on the delicate leaves, about the size of sesame seeds, with very long spacing, not many. In the eyes of the flowers on the street, there is a faint color. Unexpectedly, there are many aphids in Yuzhou. No wonder the planting in Yuzhou can't keep up. This problem must be dealt with. As if thinking of something, Emo Shanghua suddenly looked back at Qianlin, who had been following her honestly, and said, "By the way, what's the yield and taste of sweet potato in Wujuan in the past years?" Qianlin is the biggest grain merchant and the richest man in Wujuan. He is very clear about this nature and laughs with flattery. Back to the princess, the main grain in Wujuan is rice, and sweet potatoes are only eaten by poor people. The yield is not high, and the taste is not as sweet as the imperial city. People who cannot eat it are naturally not happy to eat it. The flowers on the street nodded slightly, and their eyes were like a mirror. From the situation of sweet potato seedlings in this field, we can see that Qianlin's statement should not be false. The yield and taste of sweet potato are not good because of soil quality and aphids. She has to try to develop some pest control methods. It is thinking, but her head suddenly burst a woman's voice like thunder. "What are you doing?" "Ouch, I've worked so hard to grow sweet potato. What kind of evil has it done? It's just like this." Emo Shanghua looked up and saw a woman running over in a hurry. She carefully bypassed the sweet potato seedlings in the field. In a short time, she came to her and pointed to the seedlings in front of her. She was full of pain. The woman's skin was rough and dark, and she was dressed in coarse cloth clothes. Her clothes were full of patches. Her eyes seemed to be drooping, but now and then she quietly raised her eyes. She took a look at the flowers on the street and the Qianlin and others who followed her. Her eyes lingered on the jewelry in her hair bun, and the jade pendant on her waist. There was a bit of greed in her eyes. We can see how big the abacus is in his heart. But above the seedling, in addition to the aphid bite out of the small hole, is clearly intact. Emo Shanghua stood up and stared at the woman indifferently, and said, "This lady, please see clearly before you speak. I've never crossed the boundary, let alone touched anything in your field, and you are a good seedling. How can you be harmed?" That woman Zhang Wang's eyeballs dribbled around, as if by the gas to the general. Rub stood up. At the foot of quietly will step down a small piece of seedlings. Then he pointed to the fallen seedling and said in a loud voice with a slight accent, "What's good? It's all right. You little girl are so clean. How can you lie with your eyes open? Look at the seedlings for yourself. They are not all trampled." Mo Shanghua has been paying attention to Zhang Wang's every move. See, her face is not red, gasping to say these words. The heart can't help but sneer. She doesn't like to cater to those who don't do good to her. Therefore her words are not polite. Who can confuse black and white is clear in her heart. Auntie, it's a popular saying in the countryside that if you lie, you will be pulled out by the Lord of Hell when you go to hell. People in the countryside are most superstitious in feudalism. They believe in these things. What she said was to scare Zhang Wang. Sure enough, Zhang Wang's eyes flashed a bit of fear, but the sun was shining today. A white jade hairpin on the flower's hair on the street was more and more transparent in the light. Looking at it, Zhang Wang's heart was itchy, and he wanted to go forward and grab it. They are such rich people in this remote place, but they don't come here once in hundreds of years. Today it's hard for her to meet them once. She can't miss it. Even if she had to pull out her tongue when she died, she would admit it. Thinking about this, Zhang Wangsher was ruthless. "What black and white, little girl? You don't want to bully me. The old woman doesn't understand these literary things." After a pause, she added to herself, "I don't care. When I came here, I only saw you here. The good seedlings were trampled. Who else could you be? It's not easy for us farmers. You have to pay for it." For she had made them fat sheep. Flower eyes color suddenly across the cold, lips light purse with no mouth. Zhang Wang's heart felt guilty when he was seen in the eyes of the stranger. He couldn't help scolding. "What are you staring at me for? It's just that you're wrong. You have to pay for the money, otherwise you don't want to leave." Qinya is a bit impatient. Seeing that Mo Shanghua doesn't speak, she knows that she is annoyed. She hurriedly comes over and says, "You old woman are unreasonable. It's clear that you stepped on the seedling yourself, but you want to slander our king, Mrs. Wang. I think you just want to steal money on purpose." Zhang Wang's face slightly changed, but he was not stage fright. He crossed his waist and put on a fierce posture. "I can't talk to your master, but it's not your turn to intervene. Go away quickly." Say, she turns Mao to stare again to Mo Shanghua. "You compensate after all, don't compensate. If don't compensate, I called a person to come now. At that time, can't be so good to talk." The coldness at the bottom of Huamo's eyes was rampant. After staring at Zhang Wangsher for a long time, she saw that her heart was more and more weak. Fang said, "Even if you call someone to come, I will never compensate you for half a cent. My girl is right. You just want to steal some silver. If you change the way, I may give some alms, but don't blame me for such unreasonable slander, love." Although her voice is still as plain as water, her expressionless face makes people feel scared. Zhang Wang couldn't help shrinking his neck. He immediately reacted and sat down on the ground, crying and howling. "It's so unreasonable that people from the city stepped on other people's fields and threatened my old woman." When it was cool in the afternoon, there were many people in the field. When they heard the news, they all gathered around. When they saw that Zhang Wang's crying was so tragic, they went straight to the street and pointed at the flowers on the street. One of the men couldn't help saying, "You girl, do you think we farmers are good bullies? If you don't pay Aunt Zhang money today, you can't go away." As soon as the words fell, they were echoed by a group of people, and their attitudes to the opera changed abruptly, and they surrounded them one after another. Qianlin, who wanted to see a play, was more and more flustered in his heart. He summoned all the boys to work, and Qianlin and Qinya also gathered in front of the flower on the street. Mo Shanghua looks at the people with angry faces, but there is no half of the color of panic. She looked down at Zhang Wang's with an undisguised threat in her voice. "Auntie, it's not feasible for me to cheat. If you insist on biting me to death and slander me, Why don't you and I go to see the officials as soon as possible, and let the county officials judge? I heard that the county officials around Wujuan are the most honest and upright, and they will be able to handle affairs impartially. Before Mo Shanghua came to Wujuan, she had investigated all over the place. She happened to know that the magistrate of Wujuan was a rare, honest, and upright official. She must have heard about it. Sure enough, Zhang Wang's face schwa on the white, not a moment's time, and turned to iron-green color, green-white, not wonderful. Although the magistrate is incorruptible, the means to do things are incomparable. If it is found out that she deliberately cheated, she will certainly not die and have to peel off her skin. Why don't you dare? Mo Shanghua squats down and looks at Zhang Wang's blue and white face carefully. The red lips suddenly pull out a light sneer. So timid, auntie. If you don't have enough kung fu, don't come out to cheat others, so that you won't be caught. You'll lose your old face for half your life. Zhang Wang's face completely blacked down. The chest of the gas does not live ups and downs. You little cheap hoof you. She has been waiting for you for a long time, but there are not many of them. On the contrary, when she stands up, she stumbles and falls to the ground. Ouch, ouch, she screams incessantly. Mo Shanghua didn't have the time to continue to spend with her. She stood up and looked around. She said, things are clear. You'd better leave. Qianlin, let them continue to work. If not, she would have to deal with the villagers because she would have to do experiments in these areas in the future. So she would drag the woman away directly to avoid such trouble. They believed Zhang Wang, and they knew they were wrong, so they didn't dare to stay. After a while, they all dispersed. As for the woman, she also took the opportunity to leave. Finally quiet down, Mo Shanghua didn't immediately go to one side to work, but slightly sink eyes, turned to see Qianlin. Money in charge, just see the play can be okay? Qianlin's face suddenly became stiff, and he quickly pulled his stiff lips to please him with a smile. What did the princess say? I'm from your side. How dare I go to the theater? It's clear that the woman was too fierce just now. I can't get in at all. I didn't expect that such a smooth and transparent person in charge of money could never get in the way. Mo Shanghua suddenly has no sense of blame. Voice does not distinguish between joy and anger. As if really believe the general. Money dying is relieved. Subconsciously wiped the sweat on his face does not exist. Where or princess, you are reasonable. He had been slapped in the face by the stranger some time ago. He had to pay so much for his refuge this time. Naturally, he was not reconciled in his heart. He did not speak on purpose just now. Fortunately, how about this woman? She is also a little girl. She is easy to fool. Who knows, the next second, the voice of the flower on the street will turn suddenly, and there is a cold air in the voice. On the smooth and transparent, how can I compare with you? Just came to take refuge in me yesterday, and today I willfully ignore it. Where is your loyalty? In other words, at first, you just deliberately came to cheat your surrender. You always want to seize the opportunity to stab me. Qianlin Gang's falling heart suddenly raised, sweat on his forehead, knelt down. Princess, I. He hesitated for a long time about the word unjust in the back, but he did not dare to fall down for a long time, and his eyes kept turning. The eyes of flowers on the street fell on him like a blade, which made him afraid. After a long time he changed his words. I'm bewitched and I'll ask the princess to punish me. The cold eyes of the flowers on the street coagulate the top of Qianlin's head, and put every tiny expression on his face into the bottom of his eyes. I can't help but sneer in my heart. She knew that Qianlin had a different heart. If he could not be deterred today, he would still not accept it. Thinking of this, she deliberately did not speak, let Qianlin kneel on the ground for a long time, then said in a cold voice, Get up. However, it's better to remember the money manager clearly. I don't want to have another time. There is no room for people with different intentions in the palace. Yes. Money Pro respectfully should be a small abacus in the heart. This time is a thorough rest. Mo Shanghua passed him and directed him to cover the cow dung on the turned soil. After all of them were seated, he set out for the post house. When she just returned to the post house, she learned that the prefect of Wujuan had come to the mansion, and Yan Beiqing was entertaining her. She thought about it a little. She was worried that Yan Beiqing could not easily expose his strength and would suffer a loss. So she hurried over. After all, the sheriff of Wujuan is not a small official. He is in charge of the whole Wujuan, and the sheriff seems to have a different intention. They have been here for so long, so he came to his house. I don't know what the plan is. The flower on the street thinks about it in her heart. She keeps walking at her feet. In a short time, she has already arrived outside the hall. Along the half-closed door, you can clearly see that Yan Beiqing is sitting carelessly on the main seat, nodding perfunctorily from time to time, while the upper part of the second seat is a man dressed in official clothes, about 40 or 50 years old, 5 official upright, but his eyebrows are full of clear color. I'm afraid this person is not simple. The flower on the street looked at it a little, and there was some speculation in her heart. After observing for a while at the door, she just stepped in. In front of the outsider, Mo Shanghua was very polite to Yan Beiqing. I've met the Lord. Yan North City pick eyebrow looking at Mo Shanghua, raised a hand to lightly point the position of the lower body side. The princess came, come, sit in this king body side. Mo Shanghua's delicate mandible is light. He goes to the seat on the other side of the tea table and sits down. His eyes fall on Jiang Wu. Before she could speak, Jiang Wu stood up and bowed his hand to the flowers in the street. I'll see you, Jiang Wu. The prefect of Wujuan. The respectful attitude of Qianlin Lai was much worse than that of Qianlin Lai, who had just seen him. Of course, it can be seen that this person's mind is much more stable and deep. There's no need to be polite to Jiangjun, please get up. Mo Shanghua took it alone, then turned his head and looked at Yan Beiqing. Lord, what are you just talking about? Yan Beiqing leaned against the back of his chair lazily, and said casually, it's just something that doesn't matter. If the princess wants to hear it, you can say it again. Yes. Jiang Wu answered and did not sit down. He stood respectfully, frowned and said, I went to another place because I was busy with official business a few days ago, and I came back today. I learned that the prince and princess are here, so I'd like to invite them to move to the official residence. How inconvenient the post house is after all. Mo Shanghua eyebrow I didn't move, turned to see to Yan Beiqing. Yan Beiqing instantly came over and looked at her with a smile. His eyes were a bit spoiled. I don't care, princess. Where you like to live, we will live. In that case, I will answer on behalf of the Lord. Mo Shanghua has long been used to Yan Beiqing. He likes to play in front of people, but his eyes don't make any waves. To tell you the truth, I've been living in the post house with Wang Yi for some time, and I've been used to it for a long time. If we change places suddenly, I'm afraid we won't feel comfortable. What's more, we have to go after all. We just stay here for a while, and we still don't have to run. The bottom of Jiang Wu's eyes was a little dark, and his brows immediately wrinkled. But the prince and the princess are noble. How can they live here all the time? It's really unreasonable. I still hope the prince and the princess can move to my humble home. After a pause, he seemed to think of the general, and said, Is it not that the prince and the princess are still blaming Wei Chen for his improper hospitality? If the governor Jiang is not there, how can we care about such a small matter? Mo Shanghua's face didn't change in response, and the deep water of her eyes was a little worried. However, since you are so kind, then I won't refuse with Wang Yi, and we need more trouble in the future. Since Jiang Wu insists on this, she might as well live there, and have a good look at the medicine sold in the gourd. I'll tell someone to clean up for the prince and princess in a moment. The dark color of Jiang Wu's eyes just dissipated, and he opened his mouth with a happy face. It seemed that he was proud to live in Yanbei City. Yan Beiqing gently played with a jade cup between his slender fingers. He glanced at Jiang Wu as if his eyes were shining. The dark color of his eyes became thicker, but no one could see it under the cover of his long eyelashes. Mo Shanghua is also quietly observing Jiang Wu. In the end, she sees everything. She purses her lips lightly, and only politely nods her chin. Seeing this, Jiang Wu pondered for a while, and then said, I don't know how long the prince and princess will stay in Wujuan this time. Yanbei City played with Yuzhan's hand slightly, his sword eyebrows gently raised. There are so many good mountains and waters in Wujuan, but I haven't finished watching them yet. How can I say that I have to wait for my king to play here all over again? The willow eyebrows of flowers on the street slightly frowned, and Yan Beiqing's eyes were a little strange. Although Wujuan is an important grain-producing area in Yuzhou, the environment is slightly better than other places, but there is absolutely no picturesque landscape. It seems that Yan Beiqing's kung fu is deeper than her in this nonsense. The corner of Jiang Wu's mouth is also a tiny twitch, very embarrassed smile. Thinking that he was a dandy in Yanbei City, he couldn't find anything useful about him. He simply turned to Mo Shanghua. I heard that the princess always goes to the suburbs recently. It seems that she is studying the soil quality in the fields. This matter is very important, but I don't know. What's the point? For him, this is definitely the biggest thing in recent years. He has to work hard. Sheriff Jiang is really well informed. Mo Shanghua's eyes are calm, and her voice is indifferent. But I just have a research on this matter, and I haven't made any progress yet. Jiang Wu felt a little relaxed in his heart, and soothed his voice. No one has done this for several years. It's definitely impossible overnight. The princess doesn't have to be anxious. It's just a gradual cycle. After a pause, he was a little worried. Princess, I'm afraid you don't have enough people when you first come to Wujuan. Why don't you send some people here to share your worries for the princess? Originally, his purpose is here. The flowers in the street gathered their eyelashes and covered the thoughtful color in their eyes. For a long time, they said without laughing. Sheriff Jiang is busy in government affairs, and there are many people who need to be sent on weekdays. If you give me a part, I'm afraid it's not enough for you. You'd better keep it. What's on my side are just small things. How can they be compared with the princess? The princess doesn't need to worry, just ask. But Jiang Wu didn't want to, and his face was respectful. Mo Shanghua's refusal was intended to try to see if he would be forced to plug. Now seeing this, his intention is clear in his heart. After thinking about it, it's better to be as resourceful as before, and then nod down. Jiang Wu's purpose this time has almost been achieved, so he doesn't want to stay, shirks the need to go back to prepare, and leaves in a hurry. Mo Shanghua took a look at Yan Beicheng, who was still playing with the yuzhan beside him. He got up and took the yuzhan in his hand. Governor Jiang had told you about it before. Yan Beicheng felt his clean jaw and thought about it. He said, "There's no one else. I've been pleading with you all the time. I'm very upset. Later you came. It's a coincidence that I'm here." The flowers on the street droop their eyes thoughtfully and murmur softly. But the more she thought about it, the more she felt that things were not so simple. She always felt that Jiang Wu's purpose should be more than that. Mo Shanghua thought for a long time, but he couldn't think of it. He couldn't help looking up at Yan Beicheng. "Do you think we should go to the sheriff's mansion?" Yan Beicheng's lips were smiling, but he stopped for a moment. Deep in the dark pupil, there seemed to be a sea wave. For a long time he shook his head. "I don't know this, you know. However, I'm still saying that if you want to do it, you can do it well. My princess can't be wronged outside. If not, others will think that I'm nothing, and I can't even protect my own princess." When he finished, his long arm had been placed on her shoulder. He was tall and strong, and his body was thin. In this way, it was equivalent to that she was surrounded in her arms. Mo Shanghua had been used to it, and calmly withdrew from his arms. "I know, thank you." In her heart, she really believed what he said, thinking that only because she was his princess would he protect her, connive at her, and didn't think much about it. Yen North City pulls a lip cape to lightly smile, but just smile but don't language, don't once say again what. Zhang Wang has been running around these days. His clothes are gray and his neck is tied with yellow and bloody gauze. Even his gray lapels are stained with dried blood. His face is extremely waxy yellow. Coupled with the dark color between his eyebrows and eyes, he seems to be on the verge of decay. Mo Jiang looked at Zhang Wan, who was so embarrassed that he couldn't help frowning and doubting. "I heard that you are not very good in the palace recently, but you are not so embarrassed. What's the matter with you?" Asked about this, Zhang Wan inevitably thought of the previous experience. His face suddenly blacked down, not angry mouth. "Don't control yourself well, don't stretch your hand too long." Mo Jiang could not see the slightest anger on the surface. He poured 2 cups of tea and pushed one of them to him. It's so infuriating. Drink a cup of water to get rid of the fire. With a snort, Zhang took the tea and drank it up. Only when he felt that the dry lips were relieved, did he take out a letter from his arms and push it to Mo Jiang. Hand this to the Imperial City. By the way, I'll go to the Imperial City as soon as possible. I have something important to tell myself. On that day the fire broke out. Yan Beiqing's momentum was different from the past, and he rushed in regardless of everything. He clearly imprinted it in his mind. This is a good opportunity to atone for his sins. He must seize it personally. Oh, Mo Jiang raised his eyebrows lightly, as if he was very interested. If you remember correctly, you still have some foundation in Yuzhou. If you go this time, will you not even have this foundation? It's none of your business. Zhang Wang replied impatiently. He got up after drinking a cup of tea. Get me some clean clothes, a fast horse and money. He has always been in the palace, and his position is not as good as that of Majiang, but on the other side of the Imperial City, Majiang is not as good as him, so he dares to do so. See him don't say, Mo River Mao bottom dark color a cluster and pass, but smile to nod ahead. Come on, send this distinguished guest to bathe to change clothes, and prepare silver to entangle, and fast horse. Yes. The boy answered and went forward to lead the way. Zhang Wang snorted lightly, with his hands on his back, and slightly raised his chin to follow him. When Zhang Wan was far away, Mo Jiang took the envelope away from the desk, quickly bypassed the side hall, went to the study, returned everyone and took out the envelope again. Zhang Wan's mouth was so tight that he refused to reveal it at all. There must be something wrong. He carefully used a silver needle to open the lacquer seal on the envelope, took out the letter paper inside and unfolded it. The letter has written 3 or 4 pages at a long time. The general meaning is to write about his recent experience, and every move of the flowers in the street. The rest is a most confidential thing. You must meet the Imperial City. Only people there can say it. Mo Jiang frowned tightly. On the one hand, he was secretly surprised by the strange changes of flowers in the street. On the other hand, he always felt that Zhang Wang's secret matter must be of great importance. Unfortunately, he was going to leave soon. I'm afraid he had no chance to know. He looked down and thought for a long time before he folded the letter again, and put it in the middle. Then he took the candlestick and dropped a drop of hot wax. He sealed the letter again and put it away. Zhang Wang cleaned him up again. He had enough to eat and drink. He took the hard food and rode to the Imperial City. Just 10 kilometers into the outskirts of Yuzhou, he stopped his horse and was ready to dismount for a rest. In the dim night, on a high hill, a man in black clothes was lying on the ground. He saw Zhang Wang get off the horse, and his eyes were full of killing. He took the bow and arrow from his back and aimed at Zhang Wang's chest. Zhang Wang didn't notice at all. He took out the water bag and took a mouthful of it. Then he lifted his lips. When I bring this news to the Imperial City, you two are waiting to go to hell. The little bitches and waste firewood in his mouth, of course, are the 2 people of Yan Beiqing. More than that, he will certainly be able to get a large reward at the same time. Thinking about this, the radiance of his lips became bigger and bigger, and his face was full of satisfaction. The bows and arrows of the man in black suddenly shot out and broke into the air. The sound of falling into the skin and flesh rang out. The radiance of Zhang Wan's lips stopped and screamed. He covered his chest pierced by the sharp arrow, and kept twitching all over his body. After a while, he lost his breath completely. His eyes were full of pain. The man in black got up without expression, went to Zhang Wan's body, searched him back and forth, found nothing useful, and left directly. Chenghuan Pavilion in Wujuan County. A dark guard knelt on the ground with one knee and kept his head down to report in a low voice. Report back to the Lord. There is news from Yuzhou that Zhang Wan went to General Mo's house after he arrived in Yuzhou, and then drove to the Imperial City after he came out. Now he has been killed, and he can't find anything useful. Yan Beiqing didn't put on his cloak, only wore his usual clothes, and there was no mood fluctuation on his cold and expressionless cheek. After a long time he heard his low voice ring out. He went to Majiang's house and saw Majiang. What did they talk about? Although the whole Yuzhou is full of his monitoring, but not everything can be expected, just like this. Back to the Lord, all the news is here. Dark Wei said, took out a paper envelope, presented to go up, is before Zhang in vain to Mo Jiang. Yan Beiqing tore open the envelope, after carefully looking at the contents. The deep pupil, however, is a trace of killing. His courage is really more and more fat. I'm afraid he saw something he shouldn't have seen when he said in the letter that he was going to report. Of course he won't give him half a chance. Lord General Mo colludes with Zhang Wan privately. Do you want to send someone to watch him? The Dark Wei buries his head and asks in a low voice. No need. Yan Beiqing's eyes were slightly dark. His slender hand gently held the letter paper and burned it in front of the candle. This man is very resourceful and deep in the city. Rash action will only scare the snake. You just need to let them keep an eye on the border area. In addition, the plan of Lin Fu's side should be speeded up. Lin Fu, Wujuan County, is a wealthy family standing side by side with Qianlin, but its business is not mainly grain, so the last grain price reduction did not affect Lin Fu. And its strength is still as before. Yes. Dark Wei should be next. The brain suddenly thought of what? Wei in the heart for a while. Think of Yanbei City Changri to Mo Shanghua good, just Wei. Qianlin there seems to be some strange intention, although the princess has mentioned, but he went back, it seems that there is still quite a complaint. Yan Beiqing's eyes suddenly cool down, as if a cluster of extremely cold ice in general. You go to pick him up if there is another change, he will quietly hide the pile of grain all burned. After a pause, the cold color in his eyes was slightly astringent. Let the people under your hand be careful. I don't want to see another accident like last time in the princess's side. The burning of the granary he thought of now, the bottom of his heart are inexplicably trembling. He must not allow such a thing to happen. There was a look of amazement on the dark guard's face. He never thought that Yan Beiqing would care so much about the flowers on the street. In the past, he didn't even have any pity for the Nanha who had been with him for so many years. I don't know whether it was a blessing or a curse. Think of here, Dark Wei Mao color becomes complicated. Silent for a while, just respectfully bow hand. Subordinate understand, I go to do now. Yan Beiqing gave a light sound, and his deep dark eyes fainted with a touch of dark ink. It was hard for anyone to see through. Princess, the carriage is ready. Qinya took the cape and carefully put it on for the flowers on the street. She tied the lace up and said, the wind is strong today, so the princess should wear more. Mo Shanghua's delicate chin flicked, his eyes swept over Qinya's thin clothes, and Lu Mei frowned. You go back and put on a piece of clothes, I'll wait for you in the carriage. Qinya always listens to the words of Mo Shanghua, and when she hears the words, she answers them cleverly. She gets up and goes back. Mo Shanghua smoothed the wrinkles on her clothes and walked out. Qianlin was waiting by the carriage, so she was alone. She just stepped out of the main gate of the sheriff's mansion. She saw a group of people around the gate for some reason. The common people were all talking about it. Their voices were so noisy that they couldn't hear what they were talking about. They couldn't see clearly the affairs of the central government. They could only see the corner of the top cover of the carriage. You see, Princess Yu has come out. I don't know who yelled in the crowd. The noisy crowd was quiet for a moment, and then there was a bit of discussion. The people turned around and stared at her. Mo Shanghua stares at the corner of the carriage. Lu Mei frowns slightly and ignores the eyes of the common people. She steps towards the center and walks in. The common people consciously get out of the way. The situation inside shows up in front of her. I saw a woman in coarse cloth lying in front of the carriage that Hua used to sit in. The woman's forehead was full of blood. The blood under her body dyed the bluestone floor red. In addition, her elbow and knee were damaged and bleeding in many places. She closed her eyes and didn't know whether she was alive or dead. Qianlin stood aside, his face full of gray. Next to the woman sat an old woman crying in the dark. Mo Shanghua's eyes swept on the woman's pale cheek, and a touch of calm color passed in her eyes. That woman, unexpectedly as a few days ago in the field, want to cheat her Zhang Wang. Qianlin, what's the matter? The flower's eyes on the street swept over the old man who was crying more than ever. and saw that she was quietly glancing at herself with her eyes. Her heart became more and more calm, and she walked to the side of Qin Lin's body. As soon as Qin Lin saw the flowers on the street, a string hanging high in his heart finally relaxed. He turned his eyes to look at the old man, and then he used sign language to make a gesture. Back to the princess, I don't know. I was just waiting for you here, but the horse suddenly went crazy for no reason. This woman just ran into me at this time. I couldn't control it for a moment, so I ran into someone and killed him. Dead. Mo Shanghua Mao Guang stares at the woman's chest without any ups and downs for a while, then sweeps his eyes again. His pale complexion makes his heart sink. It seems that he is dead. As soon as the words of the flower on the street came to an end, the weeping old woman Zhongli stopped crying and glared at the flower. What's your attitude? My daughter-in-law was killed by your family's carriage. Don't think that you are a princess, so you can do whatever you want. Even if my old lady gives up her life today, she must get justice for my daughter-in-law. Then she turned her eyes around in the crowd, patting her thighs and wailing. You are all witnesses. My daughter-in-law was killed by them. Now they are so sarcastic. What can I do for my old lady in the future? After a few people had just stopped, there was a more noisy discussion than just now. People's eyes at the flowers on the street, and Qin Lin became more subtle. Zhang Li's ability to act rashly is better than that of Zhang Wang's. Qin Lin's whole face was flushed by Zhang Li's words, but he couldn't speak. He tried to explain with his hands, but they couldn't understand. Zhang Li snorted coldly, and his dry orange skin-like face was a little chilly. You murderer, my daughter-in-law is still lying here. The blood on your carriage can't be denied. You can't plead guilty. Today you have to give a result. The crowd also began to ring out, killing people to pay their lives, debt to pay, and other voices. There are many spearheads are pointing to the flowers on the street. Qin Lin was so unjust that he was more and more impatient. He suddenly knelt down and kowtowed to Zhang Li. When he got up, he quickly drew something. Others don't understand, but the flowers on the street are clear. What he means is that he wants to pay for his life. Before she had time to think about the next step, she saw that Zhang Li was still sarcastic and had to be embarrassed. Qin Lin suddenly stood up again and ran into the stone lion in front of the house. The pupil of the flower on the street suddenly shrinks and goes forward. But it's still half a minute late. Qin Lin's head has already touched the stone lion. She only has time to grab his collar and slow down her strength. Brother! Qinya, just out of the house to see this scene, pretty little face instantly white down, quickly ran past. Qin Lin fell to the ground. Mo Shanghua quickly helped him. Qinya also followed. Tears rustle and fall. Looking at the bloody wound on his forehead, he didn't have time to think about it. He quickly sealed her acupoints with silver needles and fed some pills. Then he saw that the blood on Qin Lin's forehead stopped a little. Take your brother to the hospital to bandage it. Don't go back to the government to find a doctor. Although Qinya didn't know, she still nodded her head and helped Qin Lin to get up. Mo Shanghua looks at the back of two people. The complexity in the eyes is hard to say, vaguely visible, a bit moved, a bit guilty. Qin Lin is a dead brain, don't want to drag the flowers will be so, can see his loyalty, how she cannot be moved. What's more, when we think about it carefully, it is also for people to fight against him and get rid of her left and right hands. Therefore, in any case, she must not let Qin Lin suffer this injustice in vain. When they passed by Zhang Li held Qin Lin's ankle. Who allows you to leave? Who will pay for my daughter-in-law's life if you leave? I'll do it. The voice of the flowers on the street suddenly rose, and there was no expression on the delicate cheek. With such a powerful voice falling, Zhang Li was startled. As soon as he loosened his hand, Qinya threw her away and dragged Qin Lin away. Step by step, Mo Shanghua came to Zhang Lisher and looked down at him. Don't you want to pay for your life? I'm here. If you have the ability, you can ask me for it. Zhang Li's eyes slightly show timid color, but the next second immediately stood up, crossed waist-high chin, a fight to fight. You don't think you are the princess, you can bully our common people, my old lady don't believe it. You really dare to cover up so blatantly. This is a real life. Cover up. Mo Shanghua's voice was slightly raised, and his eyes fell straight on Zhongli's body like a sharp blade. Although I was not at the scene, I knew that it was because I startled the horse. In addition to other reasons, your daughter-in-law was hit. Qin Lin couldn't control the horse. Of course it was wrong, but he shouldn't pay for his life. After a pause, her icy eyes swept slowly among the crowd. I think the eyewitness at that time should still be on the scene. If you insist on such a slander, you might as well look for it. Zhang Li's eyes shrank, thinking of the man's promise of 100 liang of gold. He bit his teeth and said, "You say that the horse is frightened? Who knows if you did it on purpose? You had a dispute with my daughter-in-law in the suburbs before." Mo Shanghua looked away from the woman, stepped up to the horse, and walked around the horse. In a moment he took a silver needle stained with blood from the horse's buttock and raised it in front of the woman. How can a horse not be surprised when it is pierced into a silver needle? Wei Chen is late. Jiang Wu came in a hurry, as if he knew what was going on. Without frowning, he said, "Come on, give her some silver. Send her away immediately. Don't pollute the eyes of the princess." As soon as the voice fell, 2 boys came to drag Zhang Li's family. She immediately struggled desperately and cried, "There's no reason. If you have no identity, you can kill people at will. How can we live?" She had already stepped into the coffin with half a foot, but the 2 boys seemed unable to drag her away for a long time. Many of the people who have been in the market have been led to point at each other. If it goes on like this, it will lose people's heart. Her reputation as a shrew is nothing, but the country has always been people-oriented, and people's will must not be lost. Stop it all. The color of flower eyes on the street suddenly sank, and the color of voice was also slightly sank. "Governor Jiang, I can solve this matter myself. I can't stop it." Jiang Wu's eyes froze for a moment, and he said with a smile, "But it's a small matter. Why bother the princess? I'd better come here. You can go back to the palace to have a rest. The flowers on the street are tiny, and their eyes are quiet and cold. Sheriff Jiang, this is my business. You are busy with government affairs, so don't interfere. I can solve it myself." Jiang Wu frowned slightly. He wanted to say something more. Before he had time to speak, he squatted down and stared at the woman with his eyes like water condensation. "I didn't finish just now." After a pause, she continued. "The silver needle was found on the left buttock of the horse. The carriage faces northwest. The direction of the silver needle is southeast. This southeast is the crowd-gathering place on the street. It can be seen that someone deliberately did it. How can this prove that Qin Lin didn't mean it?" Zhang Li's heart was a little hairy when he was seen by the stranger. He quickly looked away and retorted loudly, "What are you talking about? My old lady can't understand it. Anyway, it was someone in your house who hit me. It's a human life. I will never forget it." With that, she began to wipe her tears again. "I'm the only old woman in this family in the future. How can I live?" When people saw her crying miserably, they turned to the past unconsciously. The flower eyebrow heart of Mo lightly see you for a while. Didn't have a chance Zhang Li's cry, but passed her, looked at Zhang Wang's corpse behind her. Zhang Wang's death is not very ugly. She lies on her back with a pale face, and her eyes are clearly filled with amazement and pain. Somehow, there was something strange in her heart. Thinking about this, Mo Shanghua couldn't help but get up and walk to Zhang Wangfa's body. She opened her lower eyelids and mouth and looked at it carefully. Her eyes suddenly showed a clear color. "If you really don't understand, come and smell it carefully. Your daughter-in-law still has a strong taste of wine in her mouth." In this way, she suddenly ran around without any reason, and she didn't say anything. Zhang Li's eyes flashed. She got up and pushed the flower on the street, blocking the body of Zhang Wang behind her. "What do you know when you are young? A small mouth is full of nonsense. Big guy, please judge. She just doesn't understand here, and wants to shirk her responsibility. Pity my daughter-in-law. I have no one. I have to be calculated like this." Such words down immediately aroused the anger of the crowd. People are shouting, "Let Mo Shanghua or give a statement, a life for a life again." Jiang Wu's eyes swept quietly from Mo Shanghua's body, and the bottom of his eyes crossed the color of his success. However, after a moment he collected it again and said, Princess, according to my minister, I just gave you the money. Why bother to entangle with this villain? His voice did not lower, so many people listened to him. She no need. Mo Shanghua eyebrow I half cent didn't move. Vermilion lightly stir up. Good, since you insist to make this matter big. That I this then asked to make over, let him have a good check. Zhang Li's face suddenly changed. What Mo Shanghua said was really wrong, but she did give something to her daughter-in-law, otherwise she would not rush to her. If it was found out Zhang Li's palms were sweating, his mind was spinning, and he cried out, "How can this make my daughter-in-law disappear? Why don't you let him live in peace? Do you still have some humanity? Don't you feel guilty when you are so excited? Or is there another reason for your daughter-in-law's death? The flower on the street has been expected for a long time, and the clear color of a tiny check has passed in the eyes." Suddenly was poked in the center of the matter. Zhang Li's eyes a bit flustered color. You this is clearly deliberately confused black and white, right and wrong. Yes or no, we'll see later. Mo Shanghua ignored her and turned to look at Jiang Wu. Please come over here. Yes, I'll do it. Jiang Wu arched his hand to answer the question, but in his low eyes, he clearly crossed a few points of calculation, and there was no one to check. Wuxia soon found her. Of course, Zhang Li cried out that she would not let the autopsy, but Mo Shanghua asked someone to drag her away for a while, so that Wuxia could have a closer look. When he got the result of his test, he was about to report it. With a slight turn between his slender fingers, Mo Shanghua bounced a silver needle into his armpit. He felt paralyzed at the place where he was shot by the silver needle. What's the result? Mo Shanghua's face came forward as usual. In the angle that people couldn't see, he spoke in the voice of only two people. If you want to live, tell the truth. Wuxia felt that the paralysis under his armpit was spreading slowly. He immediately learned that what Mo Shanghua said was true. He suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. When he got to the body in his throat, he swallowed it again without any drug poisoning. He quickly changed it. Tell the princess that she was poisoned before her life, which was not fatal, but it would make people crazy within a certain period of time. The rest was the bruises caused by the impact. There is nothing else. To avoid suspicion, this work was found by the sheriff. You must know how your sheriff is an official on weekdays. Mo Shanghua nodded, explained to the common people, and then looked back at Zhang Li. Now it's time for you to explain what happened to the poison on your daughter-in-law. Zhang Li's face, which was full of wrinkles like a dry orange peel, was full of panic. He didn't dare to look at the flowers in the street. He stammered and said, "How can I know? No, it's impossible. You are all together. After all, she has been honest in the crops all her life. It's not bad that she's been through this kind of battle until now." Seeing that the matter was about to come to light, Jiang Wu looked at the woman indifferently and said, "I heard that the old woman's daughter-in-law had intended to blackmail you before, but now she is obviously upset by the money. She uses such a cheap idea just to blackmail some sky-high money." After a pause, he pointed to the two boys beside him and said, "This woman even killed her daughter-in-law in order to achieve her own goal. She's so cruel. You two, press her into the prison and wait for the sentence." Zhang Li's face was as pale as ashes and she sat down. But the two boys just met her, and she began to struggle again. The flower eyes on the street fell on Jiang Wu. He always felt that it had something to do with him. Suddenly he opened his mouth. This woman has lost her wife and lost her army. Now she's the only old and frail person in her family. It's no different whether to catch her or not. The implication is that at such an age, people will not live long, so it is unnecessary. With that, she didn't give Jiang Wu the chance to refuse. She said, "I have something else to do. If Governor Jiang is really free, he will clean up the mess here." Then he turned around and walked quickly towards the place where Qinya had just left. Qinlin was hurt because of her. She had to go to have a look. Jiang Wu had to swallow his words before he could spit them out. His face turned black for a moment. It took him a long time to press down, and he had to do as Mo Shanghua said. Qinlin and Qinya went to only one hospital in that direction. So Mo Shanghua soon found Qinlin and Qinya in it. The wound on Qin Lin's forehead had been bandaged up, and the doctor was shaking his head and sighing, while writing a prescription. Emo Shanghua went up. As soon as Qin Lin wanted to get up, she held his shoulder and pressed him back. Don't move. After a pause, she turned to give the doctor an ingot of silver, and took them back to the house together. She took the bandaged wound off Qin Lin's forehead in person. After checking it, she bandaged it again. She gave him the medicine and asked Qinya to take it. A movement down. Qin Lin has been moved to tears, trembling fingers, constantly gesticulating. Thank you, princess. I remember your kindness to the slave. The flowers on the street are clear, but they tighten the corners of their lips. Without saying a word, there is a touch in their eyes. Such a loyal person, what she did was what he deserved. Qin Lin was so real that he was so moved. Emo Shanghua silently took out a porcelain vase from her sleeve, and put it on the small table on the collapse. This medicine is for you to grasp with Qinya. It will be better if it is applied externally and orally. Besides, don't go to work these days. Just have a good rest. Qin Lin was so moved that he raised his leg to thank him, but the flower on the street shook his head gently. It's all right. Then she turned and left. Zhang Li's family was finally put back, but when she arrived at home, looking at the family's empty walls and Zhang Wang's family waiting to be buried, her intestines were blue. Originally, the masked man clearly said that she would give her 100 taels of gold as long as she did the job well. For this reason, she lost her daughter-in-law's life. Unexpectedly, it came to nothing. She began to feel sad and could not help crying. But she did not know that a man in black had quietly pulled out a dagger and wanted to break into the broken window. Hiding in the nearby street, the flower saw that the silver needle between her fingers tightened instantly. Before she could shoot the silver needle out, she saw that a dark shadow passed by. When she looked at it, she saw that a cloaker had already rushed behind the man in black. She squeezed the man in black's neck tightly and broke it. The man in black didn't even have a chance to call, and fell to the ground. Then Emo Shanghua saw that he waved behind him. After a while, a man in black came and moved away the body of the man in black. The flower eyes on the street suddenly surged into a bit of astonishment, and the face covered by the cloak and the brain slowly overlapped with Yan Beiqing's cheek. Why is he here? She came here because Qin Lin was not there, and no one could believe her. But he always went to Qinghuan Pavilion recently. Why did he come here suddenly? After being shocked, her heart was full of doubts. Her breath slowed down a little. However, in a short breath, Yan Beiqing the cloaker came in front of her and stabbed her neck with a knife. Emo Shanghua only felt a cold wind at her soft neck. She suddenly bent her soft waist back to avoid it. As she bent, the cloak that covered most of her cheeks slipped from her head, and her delicate and beautiful cheeks suddenly appeared. Yan Beiqing's eyes, like dark ice and cold blade, were a little surprised when he touched the face of the flowers on the street. The idea of killing suddenly disappeared, and his hand knife was put away. Feeling that the whole body's killing intention disappeared instantly, Emo Shanghua straightened up. Before he had time to turn his mind, he saw that Yan Beiqing had turned his body and was ready to leave. Wait a minute. The flowers on the street suddenly make a sound, and the steps of Yanbei City can't help but stop, but they don't turn around or open their mouth. Emo Shanghua walked quickly behind him, sipped his lips lightly, pondered for a long time, and then said, "Why do you want to help me quietly?" At this moment, she can't help but think of the person who quietly helped her buy money and food a few days ago. Could he be the one who accepted money and food? Help you? Under the cover of his broad cloak, Yan Beiqing's eyes were slightly black, his voice was low, his voice was dark and dumb, and he had no emotional ups and downs. I never do anything that is not good for me, so I'm not helping you. The implication is that it is only in her favor, and she should not think about it. The flower on the street heard clearly, and the empty space in her heart fell down. After a long silence, she opened her lips again. I know, but can I ask you a question? Although he refused to admit it, she wanted to ask the questions in her heart. Yan Beiqing turned over, and his curved jaw gently touched. The dark color in his low eyes seemed to know what she was going to ask. The flower on the street cuts water. Autumn pupil falls on Yan Beiqing tightly. A word is in the heart repeatedly ponder for a long time, just softly utter a word. Previously helped me buy money to face grain, and admonished to accept his person, but you? Yan Beiqing was silent, and his eyes were dark, but there was a faint light. It was so fast that people could hardly catch it. I see. The flowers on the street see this, and they understand it in their heart. It's hard to say how complicated they are. She always knew that Yan Beiqing had a lot of things to do, but she didn't know that this included quietly getting rid of her troubles. If she hadn't asked, would he have hidden it like this? She suddenly wanted to ask Yan Beiqing how much he had done to hide from her. But this sentence was tossed around for a long time, and she didn't know how to utter it. In the quiet air, Yan Beiqing felt a sense of uneasiness all over his body. He also saw that the flower on the street was not speaking for fear that she would think more. He said, I just said that everything I did was beneficial to me. You don't have to feel guilty, let alone excited to me. I don't need these false things. After a pause, he pulled out a palm-sized wooden token from the palm of his hand and handed it to him. This one was just taken from the man in black. You take it. It might work. The carving of the wooden plate is not very delicate, even a little rough. Because of wearing it for a long time, the handwriting on it is a little light, but it can be clearly seen that there is a small jiang on it. Sure enough, it's Jiang Wu. Mo Shanghua holds the wooden card in his palm. He's awe-inspiring. He's about to say thanks, but he doesn't see Yan Beiqing in front of him. When she looked at the empty yard, her eyebrows began to frown. On the one hand, Yan Beiqing refused to admit that he was helping her, and on the other hand he helped her. She walked so quietly, which was really weird. Finally, she shook her head and put these confused ideas out of her mind for a while. She looked around and saw that it was not far from her field in the suburbs, so she went directly to the field. As soon as he saw her coming, the chief servant came up and said with a flattering smile, I'll see the princess, Princess Jinan. Mo Shanghua's delicate mandible was slightly touched, and then he crossed the steward and went into the field. She looked down at the thick layer of cow dung on the ground. After so many days of volatilization and light, it had been dried, and the stench in the air had been reduced. Mo Shanghua thought for a moment, took out a drawing from her sleeve and gave it to the little guy behind her, explaining in a low voice, You will build it on this field according to the drawing in a moment. If you need any materials and silver, you will go to the sheriff's office and register with Qinya, and she will take you to get it. Yes. Xiaoxi took the drawing and looked down. He saw a semicircular shed. The ceiling was transparent and seemed to be pasted with wax paper. It was supported by bamboo. It looked very fragile. Princess, what is this? After staring at the drawing for a while, the boy frowned tightly, full of doubts. It can help the food grow faster. Mo Shanghua saw that he didn't understand, so he explained it casually. After all, this guy needs to be contacted frequently in the future. It's not good if he didn't understand. The things used in the ceiling are made of white wax, roving and other things, and it will never rain in. There are explanations on other drawings, just take a look at them for yourself. The princess is wise. The boy's face suddenly showed a sudden color, and he sincerely spoke in praise. Mo Shanghua still looks light, not arrogant, not impatient, and looked down at the field, then added, When the shed is built, you will strip away all the cow dung and get a small amount of green pepper, eggplant and so on. You can't plant seeds here on weekdays. As if she knew what to ask next, she said faintly, You don't have to consider whether you can survive. You just need to plant as usual. Little see this just a stringent eyebrow low purpose should descend. Dare not ask more. Seeing this, the flower on the street nodded and rode back to the city. The next day, Mo Shanghua went to see Qin Lin again. Seeing that he was in good condition and recovered well, he got up and left, took Qinya with him and went to the grain shop. These days, she is always busy with food planting, but she ignores the food shop. When she mentioned Qian Lin yesterday, she could think of it, and she didn't know that the food merchants who went to work there could be safe. Just as she was thinking about it, she had swept the front hall and arrived at the back hall. On weekdays, looking at the idle and incomparable flowers and willows, I was standing on the side of the case with a slight frown. and it seemed that there was a bit of anger between my eyebrows and eyes. There was a steward standing beside her, frowning. They were talking in a low voice. Hua Qianliuping's ink folding fan, which was waving around, closed and pinched in his palm. What's the matter? Mo Shanghua came forward and asked softly. Why do you have time to come here? Flower Thousand Willow raised his head. See, as a flower, eyebrows slightly stretch. It does not matter to hook up the corner of the lip. Is not a big deal. I can deal with it, you don't have to worry about it. As he spoke, the corner of his lips had been rehung with a signboard smile. However, the folding fan in my hand is still in the palm of my hand, and the anger between my eyebrows and eyes has not abated. Who said I was going to step in? Mo Shanghua looked at him clearly, but there was no serious color between his eyebrows and eyes. This grain shop has a part of me, so I should know what happened. After a pause, she turned to one side of the steward. Come on. But the steward didn't open his mouth immediately. Instead, he turned his head and looked at Hua Qianlu. He didn't open his mouth for a long time. Flower Thousand Willow eyes across a bit surprised. And then some funny shook his head. The loss of this child thought you want to share weal and woe with me. The original is just like this, just say and listen to it. It was not a big deal to him, but he was a little annoyed when he first heard about it. When the manager saw this, he was relieved and explained in a low voice. Well, among the grain merchants who bought the grain a few days ago, one named Lu Yuanwei sent thousands of kilograms of rice. The top layer was good, and the bottom layer was full of moldy bad grain, which could not be used at all. Thinking of this, he couldn't help frowning and worried. But the food delivered a few days ago is too much, which was discovered only today. If you want to investigate, I'm afraid there's another argument from member Lu. The flower willow eyebrow on the street is also shallow frown. Turn to look at the flower willow. Take me to have a look. Why bother? Flower willow hand folding fan gently palm, low voice command. Go carry 2 bags. The steward answered, and after a while he came back, followed by 2 men, each carrying 2 bags of rice on his shoulder. To nearly the first 2 people will put down the grain, open the opening of the bag, for the flowers to look carefully. I saw that the rice grains, which should have been white and full, were now full of blackened molds, and a peculiar smell of molds was diffused in the air. Mo Shanghua squatted down, and her delicate hands went into the bag, grabbed the rice grain, and looked down. After a while, she put the rice grain back again, and turned her eyes to see the flower willow behind her. Have you opened the rice grain sent by other grain merchants one by one? Almost all of these people were sent on the same day. Many of them are the same as those sent by Counselor Lu. They haven't had time to check. Hua Qianlu took the usual look of a dandy and answered patiently one by one. However, after this happened, I'll have people check it one by one. It should be a result in a while. Just as he said that, a young man came out of the door, panting and opening his mouth. Hui Hugongzi, the slave has checked. Besides Lu Yuan, there are Zhang Yuan and Li Yuan. All the grain sent by Li Yuan is moldy, but the last 2 people's grain is less moldy. One is 20 bags, the other is 8 bags. Hua Qianliajin's face suddenly sank, and there was no surprise in his eyes. It was obvious that he had already expected. These people are really brave, and they really dare. The man immediately lowered his head in fright, and didn't dare to say more. Mo Shanghua didn't want to get involved. Now, seeing flowers and willows like this, he had some idea of going to the theater, so he didn't open his mouth. She wants to see the real strength of Hua Qianlu. Hua Qianlu just wanted to open her mouth. Her eyes glanced at the silent flowers in the street. She seemed to understand. She was angry in her eyes. She folded a fan in her hand and gently touched her shoulder. I said, this grain shop is not my own. You also have a share. These people are attracted by you. You have to solve them. Lu Mei, a rare flower in the street, gently stirred up and stepped back. I didn't intend to interfere. You are the owner of Qinghuan Pavilion. If you can't handle this little matter well, you might as well close the door as soon as possible. She has a light look and a completely independent attitude. Flower willow eyes in the dark color microflash, a fair and handsome face are wrinkled into bitter gourd. But you also can't be such a shake-off shopkeeper. You know my identity, How can you do it at will? Emo Shanghua raised her eyes and glanced at him lightly. Her lips picked lightly. But I've been working so hard in recent days that I really don't have the extra strength to do other things. The implication is self-evident. Hua Qianlu wanted to tease Emo Shanghua. Seeing Emo Shanghua like this, she could not help but said, "Forget it, I don't want to lose money. You just look at me." Emo Shanghua is also casually said, "See, he is not stupid," simply nodded, "Really do in the side watching. Flower Thousand Willow side also is complexion. Let a person take those a few people to." When a few people arrived, he deliberately did not let people pick up the bad food, so that they could see clearly. When Lu Yuanwei and others came, they had a vague guess in their hearts. At this time, they saw that the flower on the street was so bright that they put things here. However, they pretended not to see them. They looked for eyes on the flower on the street and Hua Qianlu, and then saluted them respectively. On the street, the light of the flower's eyes swept from the people who bowed themselves to salute. Instead of opening their mouth, they were flowers and willows, gently shaking their folding fan, with a touch of radiance on their lips, which was a good way to talk. Counselor Lu quietly looked up at the flowers on the street, and then glanced at the flowers on one side. The clever one lowered his head again. Without opening his mouth, he began to sweat a little on his forehead. He had been informed that Mo Shanghua would not have time to take care of things here these days, so he dared to do it quietly. Now, although Mo Shanghua didn't speak, he just sat here, and he felt nervous. Hua Qianliu's folding fan gently touched the palm of his hand with rhythm and said with a smile, "A few members, the grain you sent has been found moldy a few days ago. I didn't have time a few days ago. Now I'm free, but I want to hear your explanation. I hope you can answer truthfully. After all, we will continue to cooperate in the future." Emo Shanghua seems to have nothing to do with the light holding the celadone cup, but in fact also quietly looked at the bottom of a few people. The line of sight finally fixed in the Lu Yuan. Member Lu has no scruples about flowers and willows, but he is just a stranger to flowers after all. The sheriff's office promised to protect him. How can the flower-willow business be worth the government's people? After pondering for a while, he straightened out his attitude and tried his best to be polite. Wagongzi joked, "I have just harvested this year's grain. Even if I can save it for a year or two, how can it be bad?" Flower Thousand Willow lips smile unchanged, a pair of good-looking fox eyes. Rather than smile of coagulation, Lu outside the meaning. That is to say, this grain is bad in this child here. The palm of Lu Yuan's hand tightened half an inch nervously and said, "It's rainy in recent days, and it's especially humid. It's also easy for rice to get moldy." The other two counselors also agreed with each other. Hua Qianliu's eyes were covered with frost, but the radiance of his lips did not recede. "Although I have never been in touch with this trip before, I have been looking for old people in this field for many years to take care of the granary. Unless there is rain, it is impossible for the granary to get wet. Besides, are you really stupid? Can't you see that those grains are old grains?" He pinched the folding fan tightly in the palm of his hand. As soon as the fox turned his eyes, he fell on Emo Shanghua. "The most important thing is that the biggest shopkeeper of the grain shop is the princess. I just take care of the princess. You do these things so blatantly that you don't pay attention to the princess at all." The flower eyebrow on the Mo lightly ascu. Can't help but turn Mao horizontal Flower Thousand Willow one eye. She didn't agree, so he tried to pull her into the water. He was really a fox. Even so, she waited out. If she didn't speak, it would encourage the arrogance of these people. If she didn't handle one well, she would lose a lot. She didn't have to worry so much about the current interests. After thinking for a while, she gently opened her red lips and slowly said, "Even the princess is not in the eye. Several members are really brave, and are not afraid of anything." Lu Yuan's thin sweat, which had just disappeared from his forehead, suddenly came out again, but he bit his teeth and said, "The princess is serious. How dare the grass people? These old bad food are clearly placed here. How dare you say you dare not? Princess, Master Mingjian." Counselor Lu why is it? Flower Thousand Willow a pair of fox eyes smile not smile at Lu member outside. A pair of pure good harmless appearance. The flowers on the street are clearly catching a touch of dangerous color at the bottom of his eyes. After all, he is the Lord of Qinghuan Pavilion. It's strange that he is so harmless on the surface. Mr. Lu buried his head low, squeezed his fist tightly, and didn't dare to open his mouth. Flower Thousand Willow see this also not vexed. In the hand-folding fan point behind the little C, smile the mouth of chant. You checked the things a few days ago to Lu Yuan read Tao. The steward answered with a voice, and asked someone to take a book and read it. He raised his voice and said, outside of Lu, when all the grain merchants were collecting grain a few days ago, you seem to be in the same line with Qian Lin, but in fact you secretly transported the grain out of Wujuan to sell. Almost all the grain was sold, and there was no loss at all. After a pause, he continued to utter coldly, this is the account book of all your recent contacts, in which the details are recorded. His books. This, how is this possible? That account book he is hiding in the dark grid at home. How can he get to Hua Qianliu's hands? Counselor Lu was shocked, and his face was full of amazement and disbelief. Hua Qianliu directly took over the account book in the steward's hand, threw it out in front of member Lu, and said with a smile, the amount of grain you sent is not the same as that on the account book, only the surplus grain you had in previous years. Now I want to hear what you say. Mr. Lu picked up the account book on the ground and looked at it. His face muscles twitched slightly. After a while he said, my account book has been in the government. It can never be here. It must be fake. It's a quick response. The flowers on the street are looking at Lu Yuanwei as if they are not there. The beautiful eyes with light and clear water are flowing with a kind of thoughtful color. Are you doubting my ability? Flower Willow lips radiant slightly paused down. Narrow fox eyes dangerous squint. Lu Yuanwei suddenly remembered that Hua Qianliu was not just a rich party. His Qinghuan Pavilion was open all over the country, and it was in the capital. Qinghuan Pavilion was still the largest and most prosperous place. Thinking about this, Yuan Lu's forehead suddenly rolled out big beads of sweat, but he didn't lift his hand to wipe it, and his brain was spinning rapidly. After thinking about it for a long time, he gritted his teeth fiercely. What the grass people said is true. If you don't believe it, the grass people would rather die to prove their innocence. Said unexpectedly was really stood up, closed the eye then toward the table corner to bump to come over. The corner of the table is beside the flower on the street. As soon as she raises her hand, she can save it, but she doesn't do it. Instead, she stares thoughtfully, and so does the flower willow. What's more, in order to prevent people from bumping into the corner of the table, they are extremely blunt. Even if they bump into it, they won't worry about their lives. But the other two members were all very surprised, and wanted to rush forward to stop them. But they were a little late. Counselor Lu actually bumped into him. He broke his head immediately, but he didn't faint. Instead, he covered his head and screamed. Zhang Yuanwei and Li Yuanwei rushed over, and helped Lu Yuanwei up from the ground. Lu Yuanwei endured the pain, and thought that no one could see him. He quietly gave them a look. They immediately understood that they were not in a hurry to call the doctor, but turned their eyes and glared at Hua Qianliu. No matter whether Counselor Lu is wrong or not, Mr. Hua shouldn't drive people to death. Should the princess cover up such behavior? Yuan Zhang's eyes turned into bronze bells full of anger. One side of the Li member is also like this. Princess, we are all for your sake, just to come. You can't watch us so humiliated. Hua Qianliu's lips are slightly curved with a touch of ice. There is no smile in his eyes. I've been in the world for so many years, but I've never seen you so shameless. You member Zhang's face turned red, and he was about to step forward. Counselor Zhang quickly grabbed Counselor Zhang, turned to see the flowers on the street, and said feebly, Princess, although the grass people are not dead, it can also prove that the grass people are innocent. All of a sudden, everyone's eyes fell on the man of Mo Shanghua. Mr. Li and Mr. Zhang were extremely indignant, and said that Mo Shanghua was in charge of them. Mr. Lu took advantage of this and quietly winked at his fellow outside the door. The boy ran down quickly. Flower Willow also temporarily gathered anger. Turn eyes looking at the flowers. I seem to have wave-light micro-turn. Mo Shanghua's delicate cheek was calm like a clear spring. After a while, she picked up her red lips and said, Mr. Hua, you have shown me the evidence. Now you just touch it at will. Can you wash away the solid evidence? Lu Yuanwei, who had been somewhat restrained, changed his face at this time. He was slightly annoyed. I really forget that the princess and Wugongzi are the same family. How can we say that they are fair and just? In that case, I don't think we need to continue our cooperation. His eyes and the side of the Zhang member, remembered diplomacy for a moment, then continued. But I can return those silver money to you. But my rice always what appearance, trouble princess, child good send back. Seeing this, Counselor Zhang agreed. Yes, send our grain back. We will never cooperate with you again. So is Mr. Li. Seeing this, Counselor Lu's lip corners vaguely aroused a touch of satisfaction, and even the pain on his forehead seemed to have been alleviated. Hua Qianlu pinched the folding fan in her hand, and her lips were full of sarcasm and coldness. It's a good play. However, who do you think I am, and this cooperation can be lifted when you say it can be lifted? Lu Yuanwei's words are full of the meaning of using the flowers on the street. Naturally, she doesn't plan to watch the play, but also looks at several people. Lu Yuanwei, this is because you deliberately used bad food to deceive the past. In this way, you not only want to break the contract, but also want to break it. Don't you want your 100-year reputation? Lu Yuanwei's position among grain merchants is second only to Qian Lin, and his influence is extraordinary. Once he gets into trouble, things can't be solved simply. He must be suppressed as soon as possible. As soon as the voice of the flower in the street fell, I heard a loud noise outside the hall. It seemed that someone was breaking in. Flower Thousand Willow obviously also noticed this. Busy let steward go out to have a look. The steward came back soon, but his face was ugly. Mr. Hui, princess, all the grain merchants we worked with have come here, clamoring to see you. Let them all come in. I want to see what kind of ecstasy these people have taken. Flower Thousand Willow complexion sank for a moment, but very quickly then asked During to go down. Skin flesh don't smile of open mouth. In a short time, dozens of grain merchants came in, feeling indignant and excited. In any case, they must lift the cooperation and return all the grain. With a wave of Lu Yuanwei's arm, the crowd stopped the noise. At this time, the wound on his forehead had coagulated, and nothing had happened. His previous respectful attitude was completely gone, and there was a kind of satisfaction between his eyebrows and eyes. Now that people are looking forward to it, I advise you to make a decision as soon as possible. The smile on Hua Qianliu's face has been removed, and the folding fan in his hand is still on the side. He looks at them coldly. Is it popular or deliberately provoking? Isn't it like a mirror in Lu's heart? The Flower Willow eyebrows on the street frowned slightly, pressed the shoulder of Flower Willow, and looked at member Lu calmly. If there is any mistake or omission in what Mr. Hua said, it must be clear in member Lu's heart, so there is no need to say more. After a pause, her voice suddenly turned. However, the princess can tell you now that it is impossible to terminate the cooperation. Moreover, you have deliberately handed in bad food, and you have deliberately provoked the food merchants. You must also give an account. Why? It's really a big bully. Can we ordinary people be bullied at will? There's no reason. As soon as the words came to an end, the crowd burst into flames, and the grain merchants all turned red. They were full of indignant refutation and argument. Only Counselor Lu stood outside the crowd without opening his mouth. It was just the satisfaction of the corner of his eyes and eyebrows that was almost overflowing. Lord, there's some trouble with the princess. It's a bit too big to solve. The Dark Way hangs his head and stands, his voice is indifferent. What exactly? The narrow phoenix eyes of Yan Beiqing's cloak were slightly raised, her voice was low and calm, and she could not distinguish between joy and anger. Member Lu has brought people out to make trouble, And now he has gathered with dozens of other grain merchants in the grain shop. Now the situation is out of control. Yen North City deep ink pupil shoe of a deep, radiant graceful jaw light point. No back down. With that, he stood up and was ready to leave. Lord, the people from the forest house are coming soon. What are you doing? The dark way is a surprised, hurriedly comes forward to block in front of him, full face anxious color. You don't have to worry about my business. Just watch the forest house. In the dark eyes of Yenbei City, there was an imperceptible dark color, and his voice was deep. After a pause he added faintly, I'll put off the business here for the time being and send the people of the forest house back. This is the biggest rich businessman in Wujuan except Qianlin, and he doesn't start with rice. It's not easy to win this opportunity. How can we say we don't want it? Dark Wei frowned tightly and said in a deep voice, Lord, you must not be hurt by the princess alone. Please think twice. No need to say more, I will bear the consequences. Yen North City glanced at Dark Wei one eye, then directly turned to go out, only remaining Dark Wei full face burnt color. Qianlin is full of tricks and tricks. If he doesn't go in person, he may take the opportunity to cause trouble. On the side of Mo Shanghua, she looked at the noisy crowd, her pretty face suddenly cold, like a layer of frost, cold Qinren bones. You are here for Lu Yuanwei indignation, but you know he sold you early. Seeing this, Hua Qianliu's lips gently raised a sarcastic radiance. Old man Lu quietly sold all his grain when you were all planting grain. He didn't lose half a cent. It's you. Each of you is really tight. With these words, the noise was reduced, and many suspicious eyes fell on Counselor Lu. Although they listened to Lu's call, they are not stupid. Once their own interests are involved, the wind will suddenly turn. The flowers on the street quietly observe everyone's look, and the clear and cool eyes are getting deeper and deeper. These people look different. Some of them even show some confusion one after another. I think they have done the same thing as Lu Yuanwei. As expected, they are all in their own way. When he went to see Member Lu, he felt a little flustered. Don't listen to their nonsense. They are deliberately setting up a trap. They want you and me. We must not listen to their provocation. As soon as the voice fell, only some people believed it, while others still looked different, so they should not believe it. Member Lu obviously noticed this point, and was about to explain it. A figure rushed in outside the door, ignoring the man's obstruction. Hua Qianlu frowned and wanted to drive people out, but when he saw that the man was Qianlin, his eyes suddenly gathered. Let him in, you all go down. After hearing the speech, several guys stopped and got busy. Mo Shanghua stood up, eyes fell on Qianlin, voice slightly heavy. Money in charge, what are you doing? Some time ago, Qian was not at ease. Naturally, Mo Shanghua was suspicious. When I learned that something had happened to the princess, I came in a hurry. Qianlin quickly raised his hand and wiped the sweat stains on his forehead with a flattering smile. Mo Shanghua has not opened his mouth. His eyes scan Qianlin's body slightly. He looks like a sharp blade. He dissects Qianlin's eyes thoroughly, and then he nods his head gently. Even so, she still had doubts in her heart. Qianlin didn't care much about her. Why is he so loyal now? Is it Yenbei City? Qianlin was relieved. He turned around and looked around the crowd. Then he cleared his throat and put on the appearance of the former superior. Then he said, I know all about you. Counselor Lu quietly glanced at Qianlin, his arrogance slightly reduced. Counselor Qian, since you all know, it's time to stand in the same line with us. How can it be? Although he did not continue to say the following words, the meaning was self-evident. This statement has aroused the suspicion of other grain merchants. On the same front? At this time, Qianlin lost his wimpy appearance in front of Mo Shanghua, and restored the dignity of his normal superior. He pulled his lips and sneered and said, I didn't know before, so I wanted to fight against the princess. Now I've figured it out. After a pause, he glanced at the crowd with heavy eyes and said, We were against the princess before, but after that, when we were about to lose everything, the princess ignored the past and took away all my food, which saved me from losing money. Which one of you is not the same as me? The crowd fell into a dead silence. In the flower eyes on the street, I was a little surprised. I couldn't help but gather my eyes and meditate. How could he say that when he came to join her, he suffered a lot? I think it must have been instructed by others. Such a thought. The figure of Yan Beiqing can't help but emerge in her mind. Instead, Hua Qianlu listened carefully. Seeing the mirror, she said with no smile, "This is not my son's frame-up, is it? Tut-tut, I think you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you. What's more, do you think that even if our cooperation really ends, if you take out the grain, there will really be other markets?" The crowd became more and more silent, but there was a bit of confusion on Lu's face. He could not help saying, "Just now, Qian called himself a slave to the princess. Now they are on the same boat. We can't listen to him." The flowers on the street came back to their senses, and their delicate cheeks were immediately stained with a layer of frost. "Lu, do you still want to instigate me at this time? Well, in that case, I'll help you. From now on, I will terminate the cooperation with you. You can take away all your rotten food, but you must also return all the money." After a pause, she seemed to expect what Member Lu would say. She asked, "Is your food bad only when it's delivered here? All of you here are old people in this field. I think you can see one or two things. What's the matter? But what else do you want to say?" With that, Hua Qianlu had already called people and sent those bags of grain to the people to watch. Qianlin sees this. Busy also greets everybody to come to see together. Although Qianlin has gone to Moshenghua, his position as the richest man is still unshakable. Naturally, people will give him some thin noodles and come to have a close look. At this glance, I found that what Mo Shenghua said was true. When Hua Qianlu saw this, she didn't say much. She just took the folding fan inside. In the end, it's just a few people outside Lu's office trying to deceive us. If you get involved in it because of her private letter, it's not worth it to make your own grain shop lose money. A word awakens the dreamer. All of them suddenly come over and know that they have been used. Their faces change. Lu's eyes turn to anger. After a short time, they all went to Moshenghua one after another, bowed and said in unison, "The grass people are stupid. I hope the princess will forgive me." Mo Shenghua turned her eyes and looked at Hua Qianlu standing in the crowd with a smile. Seeing that he had no dissatisfaction, she gently nodded. "I know you are all being used. I don't blame you. Let's all get up." After a pause, she added, "I just happened to pass by today. I just came to have a look at all the things in the grain shop. In the future, you'd better come to find young Master Hua." "Yes." All of them answered in unison, and Qianlin also took a long sigh of relief. Lu Yuanwai's face was very blue, Zhang Yuanwai's and Li Yuanwai's faces were flustered, and some of them looked at Lu Yuanwai in a dazed way. Mo Shenghua looked sideways at Member Lu and said in a faint voice, "What I just said is that there are two other members outside Member Lu. Can you hear them clearly? If you really don't want to, I'll ask the sheriff to send a few people to come home with you to get the silver." At the end of the speech, she did not move her eyes, but secretly observed the fluctuation of Lu's look. Sure enough, at the time of mentioning the sheriff, Counselor Lu's eyes flashed. The light in his eyes went out clearly. It seemed that he was doing something fierce in his heart. For a long time, he actually lowered his head and said, "The sheriff is coming. I'm afraid I can't get so much silver. Princess, it's all grassroots people. Now grassroots people know their mistakes. I hope you don't remember the villain's life. Please forgive grassroots people." If it is true according to Mo Shenghua, he will lose his wife and lose his army. It's better to bear it and find a chance to do something else in the future. The other two followed suit. Qianlin didn't like Member Lu. Now it's because of this guy. He was caught by the master again. He was more resentful in his heart. He was about to fall into the well, but Hua Qianlu suddenly came forward and glared at him with a smile. The princess has her own decision. Qian should be honest about it for a while. His eyes seemed to contain a smile, but in fact, it is like a thick layer of fog. People can't really see the money in the heart, think about it, or gritted his teeth to endure. Yes, the slave is to listen to the arrangement of the princess. Mo Shenghua put this scene into her eyes, but she didn't feel too much. She just closed her eyes and covered them with long, curly eyelashes like a PU fan. She couldn't see what she thought. If you look at it, you will know that you are thinking deeply. There are so many oddities in Counselor Lu's body that it's better to put them in front of his own eyes than to let the tiger go back to the mountain. In this way, it's also a matter of supervision. In addition, it seems that Counselor Lu has something to do with Qianlin. If you leave him, maybe you can check Qianlin a little. If you think about it in this way, the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. Rao is so. Mo Shanghua still pretends to be hesitant and ponders for a long time, and then says, I think it's not impossible to forgive you for the sake that you can correct your mistakes and fail to cause great disaster. However, there must be an explanation for these bad grains. I limit you to replace them all within 7 days. If you can do so, I will let bygones be bygones. Member Lu looked at the others, hesitated for a while, then bit his teeth and said, Yes, the grass people will do it. Well, let's all step back. The princess has been punished. Mo Shanghua's delicate mandible is light. He turns around and sits down. He looks tired between his eyebrows and eyes. All the people are also aware of the current affairs. Seeing this, they all bent over to salute and then left in a hurry. All the people in the room were gone in a short time. Only Hua Qianlu was left. When she was so empty, she suddenly felt as if someone had been staring at her, which made her feel unnatural. Thinking about this, the flowers on the street can't help looking slightly at the hidden carved wooden door. As she was about to get up and look, Hua Qianlu sat down beside her and said with a smile, It's said that women are right and wrong. Now it seems that it's true. Even the princess is no exception. Mo Shanghua came back and gathered the look in her eyes. She said faintly, If you didn't drag me into the water intentionally, how could I help you easily? Flower willow is no half of the color of guilt, smiling toward her side to gather together. Princess, this name is very boring. What's your name? Since Mo Shanghua came to this world, her name has only been told to one person. Now when Hua Qianlu asks, her eyebrows can't help frowning. Hua Qianlu tilted her head to see the look of the flowers on the street. Her sword eyebrows gently stirred up. What's the matter? Is it difficult? What's the unspeakable secret? Don't you even know Brother Beicheng? Speaking, his eyes seemed to have lightly swept on the beam top for a while. The look in the eyes is misty and hazy. At this time, on the top of the beam, Yan Beicheng covered his face with a broad black cloak, lowered his head and watched the flowers in the street below. When they heard that they were talking about such a topic, their slender fingers between their knees suddenly tightened. In their eyes as deep as the pool, they scratched a few strokes, which was very obvious. It's true that Mo Shanghua didn't mention her name to him, but he did know it, because she once told Yan Xinchuan, and now she wants to talk to Hua Qianlu. Mo Shanghua did not know where Yan Beicheng was. She sipped her lips and thought for a while. Then she said, My name is Mo Shanghua now. Hua Qianlu shakes her folding fan and murmurs for a while. She just raises her head again. Her lips are slanting gently. It's really a nice name. How about I call you Xiaoma Hua later? Flowers on the street. Hua Qianlu shakes her folding fan and murmurs for a while. She just raises her head again. Her lips are slanting gently. It's really a nice name. How about I call you Xiaoma Hua later? Whatever you want. But a appellation. Mo Shanghua heart not too big touch. Then casually should come down. By the way, I heard that Yu Qinghuan Pavilion Exploration Intelligence is unique. Can you help me? I will answer the request of Xiaoma Hua, but... Flower Thousand Willow pulled long intonation. Narrow Foxmouth slightly pick up. I'm a small business if plain answer, will lose money so I give you a discount this number, how do you see? With that his slender fingers looked like 500 taels? The curving eyebrows of the flowers on the street are carefully cut, but there is no big wave in the beauty. No business is without fraud. Hua Qianlu and she are not friends. It's common sense that they refuse to suffer losses. My aunts and grandmothers, if everyone is 500 liang, then I would have lost all my money. Flower Thousand Willow face do cry smile not of color. This but no two price 5,000 too. I don't have that much silver. Lu Mei, who had just been provoked by flowers on the street, suddenly frowned. The grain shop's dividends can't be paid until the end of the month. Now I really can't take them out, up to 1,000 liang. Having said that, her eyes were silent and light. How can that work? Flower 1,000 Willow immediately woe, full of a careful money fan appearance. The flower on the street is as white as jade, and the delicate cheek is full of helpless color. The money in the grain shop can't move now, and I can't slow down this matter. Why don't you see? What kind of material object can I have before, and can I take it to pay the debt? It's just in the middle of the speech, her voice suddenly turned. It's just that although the mirror situation is only known to you and me, it will inevitably change the taste when it spreads out. I don't know. I think you are the next leader of Qinghuan Pavilion in Tang Dynasty. Now you are forcing a woman to pay off her debt with something close to her. If you really spread that kind of news, Hua Qianlu is afraid that you don't have to go out to meet people. She looks embarrassed and serious, but her words are very cunning. On the top of the beam, Yan Beiqing, who used to have a bad complexion, was in a state of great mood when he heard the speech. Now he was in a state of depression. Flower Willow is like swallowing a fly. Swallowing is not swallowing is not. For a long time he could not laugh or cry. Little Mo Hua, your eloquence, I am really convinced. That's all. It's a bad reputation. 1,000 liang is 1,000 liang. With that, he stretched out his hand in great pain, but no one could see it. The bottom of his eyes was still clear, with some interest. Mo Shanghua's lips are full and red. In a good mood, he raises a radiant and slowly takes out a silver note from his sleeve and hands it to him. In this way, thank you for your kindness. Hua Qianlu took the silver note with her hand raised, holding the position of her heart with grief. It's really the most poisonous woman's heart. Well, don't be in my mouth. I need you to help me find out what Lu Yuan has been doing recently. Even in the past few years, he has done everything in detail. An old man over 100 years old. What can I do for him? Although Hua Qianlu has written it down in her heart, she can't help but make fun of it. In fact, even if Mo Shanghua doesn't say it, he will definitely find out about it. This grain shop also has his share, and his eyes can't hold sand. When it turns out you're sending someone to inform me, I'll come myself. Mo Shanghua is lazy to talk with him. He gets up and tells the next sentence, then goes out. What I want to check will be found in 3 days. Don't worry about it, little Mo Hua. Hua Qianlu looks at the thin figure of the flower on the street. He leans lazily on the cushion behind him, and opens his mouth lazily, until the sound of footsteps gradually disappeared in the ear. Yan Beiqing's body jumped and fell in front of Hua Qianlu. Most of his face was covered by a broad black cloak. Although we can't see what he looked like, we can see that his mood is not so good just by his silent posture. Flower Willow is to continue heartless, gently shaking the hands of the folding fan, singing the words with a smile. How come down from the, is not squatting tired? Just as it happens, I have a long well made before the rain. I have some products. Yan Beiqing's pale lips were slightly pursed. He was silent for a while, and the air pressure of his whole body seemed to be reduced several times. For a long time his eyes as deep as the pool suddenly fainted with a touch of ink. You are in such a good mood, I'm afraid it's not the product of Longjing before the rain. If he hadn't had time to change his clothes, he would have come down long ago. How could they have been together for so long? Especially the Flower Willow, recently is really too idle, skin itching tight. Between words, it seems that there is a meaning. Tut tut. Flower Willow curled his mouth, toned slightly with the color of ridicule. Really big vinegar, sour, my bones are about to crisp. Vinegar. Yan Beiqing's eyes suddenly sank, as if he had been poked into his heart, and his face was slightly cold. It's nothing to do with you. But I have something to tell you. What's the matter? Don't you drive me away? Flower's Willow narrow fox eyes slightly pick up, smile rather than smile of the mouth. Being guessed out of his mind, Yan Beiqing's face remained unchanged, and he said with no smile, You and I are not in Yuzhou. Recently, there are some restless people over there. I just received the news that your Chenghuan pavilion has many more people coming from the imperial capital. If there are people coming from the imperial capital, no one will know. Brother Beiqing, you can't pass the test for such a lie. Is it because you've been indulging in Xiaoma flower's skirt all day recently, and you can't even tell a lie? Hua Qianlu has always been confident in his intelligence network. Naturally, he doesn't believe Yan Beiqing's words. He has the right to be a child. Yan Beiqing, thin lips slightly hook, light mouth. To report the people are dead in the middle of the road. My people back to the imperial city to explore the news, saw their bodies. In my opinion, this is not only Yuzhou, but also your Qinghuan pavilion. Speaking, he took out 2 jade cards from his sleeve and put them on the table. The 2 pieces of jade are only half the size of a palm. They are carved from sapphire. The jade is transparent and translucent. It is as warm as a cage. The sculptures are extremely exquisite. Apart from the complicated patterns, there is a small Cheng character and 2 surnames representing their own identities. It's easy to see that such a rich jade plate is worn by people in Qinghuan Pavilion. When Hua Qianlu saw the jade card clearly, the radiance of her lips slowed down. She took the jade card and looked at it carefully. Then her face suddenly became cold. These people are more and more daring. Even the people in Qinghuan Pavilion dare to move. This jade card has always been in the jade card. The jade card lost. Now it seems, Yan Beiqing said is not false. Flower Willow is the most short guard. Can't tolerate others to their own hands. Certainly won't give up. Yan Beiqing's eyes were a little dark, but he didn't mean to gloat. He just took a token made of obsidian from his waist and threw it to him. Take this token and you'll have a smooth journey. When you get to Yuzhou, if you need to employ people, you will take this sign and go to the palace to find Nanha. Seeing that he was so serious, Hua Qianlu immediately became more and more convinced of his words. She took the token directly and said gently, "Okay, I'll thank you after I handle this matter." "You don't have to. Just leave as soon as you can. I'll deal with it for you." Yan Beiqing was in a good mood, but he didn't show his face, and his eyebrows didn't move. In fact, the matter is far from as serious as he said. At least, it can't reach the point where we need to spend Qianlu to deal with it in person. He said so just to temporarily take away the flower willow. At least, we should not let him wander in front of the flowers in the near future. But Hua Qianlu believed his words, and called his confidants. He told them something, so he took 2 people to Yuzhou quickly. As everyone knows, things are not as serious as Yan Beiqing described. Yan Beiqing is jealous here, but Mo Shanghua has already returned to the prefecture. As she walks slowly in the courtyard, she can't help thinking about what happened in the grain shop today. Originally, she didn't pay much attention to the grain merchants who came here, but today, she forced the matter to be positive, which made her pay more attention to it. Qianlin is honest, but, in the final analysis, his internal thoughts are the same as those of the grain merchants. His thoughts are different, but he is only for his own interests. There is nothing else. It's easy to control him. For example, today's event is the best deterrent. It's just that Lu is really weird. She originally thought that this was just a matter of selfishness. She wanted to make a small profit from it. But later, the more strange the direction of the development of the matter became. Compared with Qianlin on that day, all kinds of actions were better than others. They wanted to deliberately push the grain shop to the end. Moreover, he seemed to know the weakness of the grain shop, so he did it on purpose. But on that day, the granary was burned and few people knew about it. In addition, Yanbei City gave a death order, so there was no possibility that it would leak out. Unless the flower steps on the street, clear and cool between the pupils, suddenly across a cluster of dark color. They all lived in the sheriff's mansion recently, and the guards who participated in that day also lived there. The most easily leaked place was the sheriff's mansion. It seems that Jiang Wu should be suspected. She should also tell him to check carefully. So think, Mo Shanghua will turn back, let Hua Qianlu help. Even Jiang Wu explore again. Just turned around, hit a hard chest, the brain because of this hit, especially dizzy. However, she didn't know how, but the person who hit him covered his chest. Ouch ouch, howled. Princess, I haven't seen you for a few days. How strong you are. My chest is about to be broken. The flowers on the street follow the reputation. Sure enough, it was Yan Beiqing's face full of sorrow. The eyebrows could not help but jump. There was something wrong with it. Yan Beiqing, I don't have time to chat with you. I have something else to do. Get out of the way. Instead of letting her go, Yan Beiqing took the first 2 steps and sealed all her way to death. That's not true. My chest is so painful now. You have to go back with me to have a good look. Is there any damage? Say, then have a matter of fact like, the whole person's all toward the stranger flower pressed to come over. The head buries in her neck socket. Emo Shanghua's body is now petite and thin. Now she is so pressed by Yan Beiqing that she is unstable at her feet. She shakes twice and almost falls. Fortunately, she has been strengthening exercise recently, which can stabilize the body. But looking at Yan Beiqing, who is pressing all her weight on her body, Emo Shanghua can't help but raise her hand and push it, but she finds that she can't push it open at all. Her delicate white cheek suddenly turns black, and she says with gnashing teeth, Yan Beiqing, I'm really in a hurry now. You can tell me exactly what you want. Otherwise, I'm not polite. In the past, Emo Shanghua will say so much, and Yan Beiqing will know the current affairs, and leave by himself. Today, however, he has not moved at all. He is a rogue who says, my king is your husband, so you can't just let go of other things because of my king? As she spoke, her warm breath sprayed all over her neck socket, bringing her a sense of crispness and itching. Emo Shanghua Ying's ears are stained with a fainting powder. She quickly raises her legs and kicks towards Yan Beiqing's crotch. She just lifts the sedan chair. Yan Beiqing releases him, gets up and stands up straight, and looks at her quite positively. Forget it, just tell me what you want to do. Emo Shanghua stepped back 2 steps, dropped his eyes and straightened out his slightly messy clothes. After a long time, his voice returned to normal indifference. Back to the grain shop. I have something to do with Hua Qianlu. Looking for him? Yan Beiqing seems to have no intention of murmuring a word, but in the clean ink pupil, it is clear across a dark color. My king just came back from him. The people over there said that he has just started back to Yuzhou, said that there is something important to go back to deal with. How could it be so fast? The delicate eyebrows of the flowers on the street frowned slightly. It seems strange to me, but I can't figure out the reason. I don't want to think about it anymore. What does he explain? In his absence, I don't know if the affairs outside of Member Lu will be affected. Yan Beiqing just smoothed a lot of mood. At this time, he seemed to be blocked by something. The dark color at the bottom of his eyes was gloomy, and his voice was a little bit dull. Nature didn't say anything, how? Is it normal that he should leave you a word? That's not true. Although Emo Shanghua could hear the oddness of Yan Beiqing's words, she didn't think about it carefully. She just casually said, by the way, did he say it? When can he come back? Of course not. Yan Beiqing's white face suddenly darkened a little, and her long, jade-like palm gently pinched the soft hands of Emo Shanghua in the palm of her hand. Princess, how can you always talk about the man beside me in front of my king? Is it hard to be the heir when I am the king? Emo Shanghua took his hand out of his palm unconsciously. I'm talking about something important. With that, she lowered her eyes and began to think. Hua Qianlu is not here now, and Jiang Wu is quite different here. She is not available now. It seems that he is the only one who cares. At this time, Yan Beiqing didn't think so much about it. He felt that he was so depressed that he wanted to open his mouth. Not far away, Jiang Wu's body suddenly bumped into the line of sight. I've met the prince and the princess and they are blessed. Jiang Wu bowed down respectfully, and the courtesy was as comprehensive as ever. Yan North City heart not happy, then also just casually waved a hand, but is a stranger on the flower, gather all kinds of thoughts in the eyes, light turn eyes. Jiang Jun show please rise. Thank you, princess. Jiang Wu smell speech, this just respectfully thanks, then get up again. The flower on the street stares at Jiang Wu and says, by the way, Sheriff Jiang, I don't know what happened to the old man who made a lot of trouble outside the mansion a few days ago. I've heard that she doesn't seem to be very good now. Jiang Wu's eyes quickly crossed a dark color that was not easy to detect, but his face did not change at all. He said, "If you want to return to the princess, I ordered someone to send back the body of the mother-in-law and his daughter-in-law that day, and gave them some money for their burial. As for the others, I don't know now." The words were ambiguous, but the stranger didn't believe a word in her heart. After pondering for a while, she said, "It's really troublesome for Sheriff Jiang. It's also a lot of trouble for you. I don't know whether it's intentional or unintentional. The word trouble has a slightly heavier pronunciation." Seeing this, Yan Beiqing's appearance of dandy and rogue was slightly reduced. He pretended not to be very interested and stood quietly. The princess joked, "But I just did my part. Why bother to say that?" Jiang Wu always knew that his brows and eyes were low, but it was also an action that seemed to have no problem. He covered his eyes completely. Mo Shanghua politely gently hooked the corners of his lips. His mind turned and he said faintly, "I have another thing to say to Governor Jiang." After a pause, without waiting for Jiang Wu to speak, she said to herself, "The shopkeeper in my shop is not here recently. The shop is short of staff recently, and there is really no one available. I wonder if you can mobilize some staff here to temporarily solve my current dilemma." Now she wants to see how Jiang Wu reacts. As long as he responds a little, she can see the person's mind. The voice fell, but Jiang Wu bowed his head and pondered for a long time. Then he said, "I've heard something about the grain shop, but I'm afraid the princess doesn't know. Recently, the Nanshan area is in a state of unrest and Japanese pirates are rampant. Most of my staff have been sent there. I really can't spare anything. I hope the princess will understand." How can he be calm? I think I saw something. In the deep of the flower ink pupil on the street, I was a little surprised. But for a moment, I was pressed down again and said with the same look, "It's good to send some soldiers to the enemy. I don't want people who run around and do chores, just one or two people who know about the accounting room. Is it difficult for Jiang Jun to be in charge of Wujuan for so many years that he doesn't even have the accountant?" The princess is serious. Jiang Wu's eyes were slightly dark, but no one could see it because of his drooping eyebrows. "The people who sent you to the princess must be excellent, but good Mr. Accountant, now they really can't leave. Several of them have been sent to negotiate with the Japanese pirates, and the rest are just put forward by the apprentices. Where can they send them to the princess? Where is the Governor Jiang? I'm just at the time of employing people. I'm just competent. I don't have any reason to dislike him." The eyebrows and eyes on the street did not move at all, but the heart was very dignified. Jiang Wu is not surprised in his handling, and his words are quite clever. It can be seen that his mind should be superior. If he is really an enemy, he is not easy to deal with. Jiang Wu was also secretly frightened at this time. The new princess Yu was only so old, so she was resourceful. If she was really allowed to continue to grow up, she would definitely be suffering in the future. This girl must not stay. Jiang Wu's eyes crossed with a shade of ruthlessness. He was about to retort. He looked at Yan Beiqing for a long time, but suddenly frowned impatiently and said, "Old Jiang, you just want a few people with you. How can you be so stingy? You just say give it or not." Yan Beiqing's words are the same as his usual mischief, but they seem to have no intention. But they forced Jiang Wu to make a quick decision. The flowers in the street smell the words. If the lips are slightly tilted up, it just shows the tension of the sword. Suddenly, it's quite easy to turn the MOU. See the reaction of Jiang Wu. Sure enough, Jiang Wu's face changed slightly. He bent over and said, "My lord, it's not that I don't want to. I'm just worried about being rude and stupid. I've polluted your eyes and your affairs. Why do you talk so much nonsense?" Mo Shanghua has not had time to speak. Mo Shanghua is impatient to open a mouth. Love Imperial Concubine has just said, "Don't despise those people vulgar stupid, isn't it enough? Are you afraid that there will be no one to take care of when something goes wrong?" Must Yan Beiqing be so straightforward in his speech? Isn't this a little embarrassing for Jiang Wu? The flowers in the street smell the words, and the corners of their lips are cocked up. Loneliness can't help but expand a little bit. In the cool and indifferent eyes, there is a light smile. and they simply watch from the side. Sure enough, Jiang Wu has been in the officialdom for so many years. He has been doing all those twists and turns. When did he meet such a master who didn't play cards according to common sense? His face was numb and his muscles were slightly spasmodic. After a long time he just laughed and said, "Of course not. Don't misunderstand me. Don't say there won't be a problem. That is, if there is really a problem. This person is sent by the minister, and the responsibility should naturally be borne by the minister. Sheriff Jiang is really sensible." Flowers on the street smile slightly, as if they don't know Jiang Wu's heart at this time. They deliberately send a conversation, but they pander to it. In fact, they sprinkle salt on his wound. Jiang Wu's heart has already been half dead. But still endure anger, smile humility should be next, princess too much. Yan Beiqing took the hand of Mo Shanghua and pulled her to his side. "Now that the matter is finished, princess, let's go back to have lunch." Mo Shanghua didn't have time to react, so her soft hands were wrapped in his palm. She didn't really resist. After a few breaths, she pulled out her hands. Yan Beiqing's soared eyebrows suddenly frown. Before she has time to speak more, Qinya comes over in a hurry. When she sees the flowers on the street, her eyes suddenly light up, and she rushes over, covering her chest and breathing. Mo Shanghua eyebrow heart shallow cu rises, stepped forward to help Qinya. "What's the matter, flustered?" Qinya gasped for a long time, then raised her hand to wipe the sweat stains on her forehead. She just said, "Go back to the princess. My elder brother has a high fever today. I dare not go to the doctor, so I went out to find the doctor. But the guard won't let the doctor in. My elder brother can't go out. I'll come to find you quickly." Speaking, her eyes having a layer of tears. Brother is still sick, now has been confused. The willow eyebrows on the street suddenly twisted up, and then went to the courtyard where Qin Lin lived. Qin Lin is loyal to her. She has to go to see her. Just walk 2 steps. Qinya is in a hurry to grab her sleeve. "Princess, maidservant has one thing to report." Mo Shanghua stepped slightly, eyes dyed with a bit of color of doubt. "What else?" "In order to find you, I went to the suburbs. Although you are not there, the steward over there tried his best to stop me from going in. I'm afraid that they have done something wrong. My brother is eager, but I'm afraid that it will be a big mistake if it's too late." Qinya raised her hand and wiped the tears from the corners of her eyes, speeding up her speaking. On the street, the center of the flower eyebrows tightly twisted into a ball, and then he raised his head again. "Don't worry about it first, it's important to see Qin Lin first." With that, she left in a hurry. Seeing this, Qinya quickly followed her. Yan Beiqing didn't catch up, but looked thoughtfully at the back of the flowers in the street. The ink color in his eyes was so dark that people couldn't see what he thought. It was during his deliberation that Mo Ling, the dark guard who had reminded him many times before, stood behind him quietly. After seeing the ceremony, he said, "Lord, the people in the forest house are not willing to go. They must see you today, otherwise the negotiation will be invalid. Lin Fu's affairs are very important. In this way he may have to go." "I see. I'll go right away." Yan Beiqing's face returned to the usual cold and unpredictable, and his jaw was slightly raised. "You go to the place where the princess is in the suburb to explore. If there is any abnormality, you should take care of it immediately and send someone else to report back." In Mo Ling's low astringent eyes, he crossed a helpless and complex color. After hesitating for a while, he still pressed down all kinds of thoughts and said, "Yes, I'll do it." Voice down, people have again quietly no trace. When Yan Beiqing felt that Mo Ling was leaving, he regained his usual dandy look and went out at will. When Mo Shanghua arrived, Qin Lin was burning red and unconscious, and he was constantly babbling, cold. Seeing this, Qinya couldn't control her tears all the way and fell down her cheek. "Princess, big brother, he." She wanted to say that let Mo Shanghua must save Qin Lin, but when she said that, she couldn't spit it out anyway and couldn't help choking. "I know, you go to get some water quickly, and bring some handkerchiefs. I'm here." Mo Shanghua takes the medicine box handed by the servant girl behind him, and tries to slow down her voice and comfort Qinya. Qinya quickly held back her tears, nodded and trotted down. Mo Shanghua walks to Qin Lin's bed with a medicine box. He doesn't avoid that it's a man's bed. He takes Qin Lin's hand out of the quilt and puts his white fingers between his wrists to feel his pulse. Then, she untied the gauze on Qin Lin's forehead and fixed her eyes on her wound. Sure enough, the wound, which had healed well in recent days, was suddenly inflamed and festered. It seems that someone is blocking it. But Qin Lin has been injured for several days. The wound has recovered well, and the medicine is the best. It's impossible to have such a situation. Even if it's really an accident, it shouldn't be now. If it really makes the people behind the scenes happy, I'm afraid the next one is Qinya. Mo Shanghua quickly turned his mind a few times, and soon sank his mind. He took out all the things he needed from the medicine box one by one, collected his eyes and began to deal with Qin Lin's inflamed wound. She was very serious. She didn't know that a small tile had been lifted from the roof. A masked man in black was looking into the room through the lifted tile. Fortunately, Qin Lin's current situation is not very serious. When Qinya comes back with what he needs, Mo Shanghua has already dealt with it. In addition, because Mo Shanghua has given Qin Lin medicine, he is now sleeping soundly and is no longer talking. Seeing this, Qinya breathed a sigh of relief and handed the things she had just brought to Mo Shanghua one by one. Mo Shanghua put a copper basin with half a basin of warm water on the table, took out a small blue jade bottle from his waist, and immediately the milky powder melted slowly in the clear water. This medicine has the effect of dispelling heat and detoxification. Qinya, you can put the handkerchief in and soak it for a while, and then use the handkerchief to help Qin Lin wipe the palms of hands and feet. The fever will soon subside. Mo Shanghua put away the sapphire bottle and whispered, "Move quickly, I'll wait for you outside." Qinya nodded like pounding garlic, took the handkerchief and threw it into the basin, squatting down to soak it carefully. Mo Shanghua sees this and is about to turn around and leave. Suddenly she feels that her head is like a thorn in her body, which makes her very uncomfortable. She couldn't help looking up, and saw that a small tile on the roof had been lifted, and a shadow swept past, so fast that she could almost see only a remnant. The flower's eyes on the street were suddenly sharp, and the footwork changed quickly. His body was like an arrow from the string, and swept out quickly. Then he stepped on the blue stone wall twice and jumped to the roof. Just now that piece of tile is still open, but already empty. Mo Shanghua went to the tile that had been opened and looked at it. From that angle, she could see everything in front of Qin Lin's bed. Her willow eyebrows suddenly gently ring up. Clear and cool eyes color microcoagulation. When on earth did this man come? When she was concentrating on medical treatment, she secretly hid here to observe for such a long time. But she was not found. If it was not for that man's carelessness, she would not have noticed. What's the origin of this man? Is he from Jiangwu, or from King Yu's mansion, or from the imperial city? Mo Shanghua thought for a long time, but couldn't think of a reason. In the end, he pressed down the problem temporarily and covered the roof tiles again. With the tip of his foot gently, he fell on the ground again. The maid was stunned. "I think you should understand whether you should take care of your mouth or not." The flower on the Mo light swept this servant girl. The tone in the micro strip a few cent threaten of meaning. This servant girl was originally brought by Mo Shanghua from Yuzhou. She was still loyal. Hearing this, she nodded her head and didn't dare to say more. Mo Shanghua then gently lowered her chin and said in an indifferent voice, "Now go to the kitchen and take all the cups, bowls, utensils and medicine dregs Qin Lin used today, and then go to the side hall to see me." Yes. The servant girl was submissive and busy. Qinya just put everything in the house in order. She just came out and saw this scene. She couldn't help but say, "The princess suspects that someone has tampered with her brother's diet and medicine, and that's what happened to her brother." Exactly. Mo Shanghua turned around and said, "By the way, have you ever seen anyone in Qin Lin today?" "Elder brother, I went out to look for you early this morning. During this period, I don't know if my elder brother met anyone." Qinya tilted her head for a moment, then frowned and shook her head. Emo Shanghua had expected that, so she didn't have too much emotion in her eyes. She nodded her head and said, "Follow me to Pianting first. I'll get justice for Qin Lin's affairs." Jiang Wu got up and turned the inkstone on the bookcase a few times according to a certain rule. The bookshelf, which was originally well placed, made a slight click, and then slowly moved to one side, exposing the dark hole inside. Seeing this, Jiang Wu walked in slowly. Just went in, this bookshelf then slowly moved back, restored the former appearance. There is only a small study in the dark room. In the study at this time, a masked man in black has been waiting in front of the bookcase. If you look carefully, this man is the one who watched the flowers in the street before. What's the matter? Come and tell me in such a hurry. Jiang Wu frowned slightly, as if he was not satisfied with the behavior of the man in black. Nature is a big deal. The man in black was not polite when he saw him. He just said, "Today I observed that Princess Yu is skilled in medicine, even in martial arts. It's not as simple as we thought. I'm afraid that the direct assassination you thought before won't work." What? Jiang Wu's eyes were shocked, then frowned more tightly. She was just a boudoir woman before. How could a boudoir woman do this? Are you sure you read it right? The man in black was a little cold. He snorted coldly and said, "Don't forget, I'm a man over there. With my ability, I can't be wrong. Well, I just came to let you know that I have to go back to recover my life. You can deal with it yourself. Remember, don't lose the right of Wujuan. Otherwise you don't have to save your life." Jiang Wu's eyes flashed away, a touch of anger, but it seemed that he was worried about it. He forced it down again and said, "I understand, and you don't have to worry about the rest." The man in black nodded his head, turned around and groped on the wall. I don't know where he pressed it. There was another door in the small dark room. It was dark outside. I could only vaguely see that it was a long corridor. The man in black walked in a flash and soon disappeared in the corridor. The stone gate closed slowly. Jiang Wu returns to the quiet dark room, but he is not in the mood to think about other people. He is constantly thinking about flowers in the street. He thought that it was hard to deal with the money he spent on the street, and she was just a woman with a deeper mind. He never thought that she was good at medicine and martial arts. In this way, he just wanted to get rid of the people around her today. And then he used the same method to quietly do the thing of flowers on the street. I'm afraid it won't work. And his future plans need to be replanned. Thinking about this, Jiang Wu's eyes slowly became dignified, and his whole face sank down. Emo Shanghua didn't know about the situation here. At this time, the maid she had sent to her was kneeling down in front of her, stumbling and saying, "Go back to the princess, the maid has seen it in the kitchen, but the people there said that all the bowls and teacups that people used today have been cleaned, and now they have mixed with those used by others, so it's impossible to find them. What about the remaining dregs?" Emo Shanghua is ready in her heart, so she is not surprised. She only asks questions. Go back to the princess and throw it out. The servant girl says here, the head already deeply buries low, the body slightly trembles, for fear that the flower on the road will how she. After all, she had seen the previous methods of Emo Shanghua. In that case, I'll call the nanny who is in charge of Qinlin's diet these days. In the flower eyes on the street, there was a touch of sarcastic color. His face was plain, but he didn't know whether he was happy or angry. These days, in order to take care of Qinlin, she specially told a mammy to take charge of Qinlin's diet. Now that there is something wrong with the diet, it's time to find her. The servant girl was as busy as an amnesty. After she was in a hurry, she was in a hurry. After a while, the mother came in with the servant girl. That mammy seems to have known why Emo Shanghua asked her to come. As soon as she came in, she knelt down and said, "I see the princess." In the eyes of flowers on the street, the color of ridicule became stronger and stronger, even without covering up. You don't have to tell me these scenes. I just ask you, in recent days, have you ever let others interfere in the food and living of Qinlin? That mammy didn't seem to think that the flowers on the street would turn over directly. She was stunned for a moment, and her eyes kept turning. She was just a moment's silence and hesitated. She couldn't answer for a long time. The flower face on the street deliberately put on a pair of impatient appearance, eyebrows slightly wrinkled. How dare not say? Is there a ghost in your heart? What did the princess say? How dare I deceive you? Mammy then hesitated to respond and quickly explained. However, I'm not very refreshing these days. I've told my servants to do everything, and I'm not very clear. There is something wrong with the medicine used by Qin Lin, and he almost lost his life. No matter whether you know it or not, you always commit a crime of dereliction of duty. My princess will never forgive you. Mo Shanghua's tone is no longer calm and indifferent to no joy and anger, but rare with a bit of fierce air. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.